Don't hang up, though. Here we go.
Horror of Dracula. Dracula, the most terrifying lover the world has ever known.
Who will be his bride tonight?
Horror of Dracula.
Dracula, dead and yet alive for 600 years.
Dracula, the human vampire who lusts for human blood. See Horror of Dracula. The greatest shock story of them all now achieves new heights of motion picture suspense.
See Horror of Dracula and watch the fiend who rises each night from his coffin bed to seek the rendezvous that alone can keep him alive.
See Horror of Dracula and watch those who came to destroy a monster stay to become his victim.
See Horror of Dracula.
But don't dare see it alone.
The chill of the tomb won't leave your blood for hours.
Horror of Dracula.
All new and in flaming Technicolor.
They're easy pickings at the discotheque. I leave them feeling like they've been in a wreck. You know they wake up all wasted and they never ever check those two small holes that are leaving their neck. I'm gonna wait for you on Saturday night. I'm gonna give your neck a great big bite. You try and find me in the mirror and I'm nowhere in sight. When you wake up Sunday you will look a terrible fright. And when the medical team arrive on the scene and diagnose will bit you, everybody will scream. Drax back. I wanna suck your Drax back. I wanna suck your Now here's a tip if you're out chasing me. I close the clubs because my drinks are all free. And when the sun is done, and that's when I have to flee. You can catch me at my coffin by 5:23. Now if you were smart and feeling up to the part, you best come looking with the stake through my heart. Cause Drax back. I wanna suck your Drax back. I wanna suck your Well, if they were wise, they would soon realize they're not hungover, they're just vampire rise. Cause Drax back. I wanna suck your Drax back. I wanna suck your I went in New York City once to make my mark. I checked in the Waldorf in the name of Karen Sharp. I used to prowl at City when it was dark. One night someone mugged me out in Central Park. Now I've had to go away for many's a day. But I'm such a nifty healer that I'm still here to say Drax back. I wanna suck your Drax back. I wanna suck your Drax back. I wanna suck your Drax back. Drax back. Drax back. Drax back. Drax back. Drax back.
This is Angus James, and I am live here in the Vinyl Garage. We are live tonight on Twitch, Facebook Live, and YouTube. And this is the debut episode of my new podcast called Talkin' About. Talkin' About. Where I'm going to be talking about just about any topic that that I'm interested in. You know, whatever. I decided to do this because I think it would be super fun, and it's a way to bring people together, to reunite with old friends, and hopefully get you guys, you know, educated about stuff that doesn't really matter because it's all stuff that's just going on in my head. It's been I've had a lot of support from my friends that have helped me with this, various different things. My friend Brian Russell, who's joining us tonight, has been extremely supportive ever since I just came to him with this idea. He's like, sure, let's do it. And so we are going ahead with it. This show is still in production. We are learning how to podcast. We've got a lot of the stuff down, but we're learning how to podcast. And the best way to do that is just to go for it. I think he would agree with me on that. Ian McNulty, who I approached the other day, asked him if he would like to be a part of the show by bringing some of his wonderful movie reviews to the garage. Yes, Brian, I can hear you. And even my Aunt Kirsten, who I had to call yesterday to help with pronunciation of certain language in order to facilitate the reading of this wonderful movie review by Ian McNulty. We're learning how to podcast. And what else was I going to say about, well, I don't really remember, which is why one of the things I'm learning is I got to write stuff down, and I got to not smoke weed before the podcast too. That helps. And I didn't do that today. I want everyone to know. So that will help me to be more articulate and hopefully remember things better. But there was one more point I was trying to make right off the top, and it's now slipped out of my mind. I didn't realize it was important until I got here just now. Now I can't remember what it is. Have a sip of my drink. So if you're just joining us tonight, I haven't even really mentioned yet, we are talking about vampire movies. And why are we talking about vampire movies? Well, I like certain things, and oh geez, my controller app just crashed. Jane Smarty says, howdy. Howdy, Jane. There's your chat right on the screen. I like things, and those things are going to be topics of my podcast. One of those things is movies. I don't really know. I mean, vampires is not, I guess, I'm not obsessed with vampires, but I do like it as a movie genre. It's not that I'm a big monster movie fan. I like vampires. There's a few different genres of movies that I like, and we're going to be covering all those in upcoming episodes of talking about. We're going to be talking about submarine movies. We're going to be talking about Stephen King adaptations. Brian, do you like that idea? Good, he likes it. I have him here right now. He's here. He'll be here shortly on the screen, and. Yeah, submarine. We did already do a test episode where we talked about 80s movies with sequels. And we are going to revisit that topic soon, maybe in the next episode. I don't know. But, okay. Let me just bring on I'm going to call him our co-host. I think that's a better... No, you know what? Because my graphics say special guest. So I'm going to call him our special guest, Brian Thomas Russell. And he is an old friend of mine from high school. And he is here to help us talk about vampire movies and related topics. And if I could just find the button to bring him on, that would be this button. Hey, buddy.
What's going on?
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent. We've got a couple of viewers going, so that's better than nothing. One of those is you, isn't it? Okay, so we've got my Aunt Jane is watching, and that's amazing.
There's 4. We have 4
really?
now.
Okay, my thing is my shit's not updated. I should not look at it. So I watch some really helpful Twitch coaching, Twitch streamer coaching channels, and there's a bunch of things that are do's and don'ts, and one of the main things I'm always hearing is don't look at your viewer number. Just always pretend that you're streaming to 100 people,
Yeah.
And it's so true. And I can't stop looking at it. It's like, I can't do it. How did you like that? How did you like that piece of music off of the top there?
Oh, that was great. I love the woos.
Oh, thank God my heater turned off. I know people can't usually hear it over the mic, but it's driving me crazy because it's like, woo, I want to suck you.
Great. Love
So
it.
did you think that was appropriate or what?
That was totally appropriate. And I liked it because it was different and unexpected.
Awesome. I have
Which is exactly I think what we are going to do here is just be totally unexpected, all unscripted, unplanned.
It is unscripted, and well, we're trying to
know.
make it as planned as necessary so that we can do a
As
professional
possible,
type show. But unscripted, definitely, and yeah, like people should tune in and watch because you never know what interesting stories we are going to be telling or what interesting facts. Brian knows a lot, and I have a feeling that Brian is going to be involved with this podcast quite a bit, especially at the beginning. It's not like I'm going to kick you off once I hit it big, but I'm saying I need the help, and one of the topics I do like to talk about a lot is movies, and so I require your assistance with that. What was the point I was trying to make? I forget. You say something now.
Thank you again for having me. We had a lot of fun last week as our little tester. I guess this week too we're a little bit more streamlined because
Right. We were talking
80s
about
movies with
planning and not
sequels.
planning.
There's but 80s movies with sequels, like you could talk for 40 years.
Well, I
think.
went and I wrote down, I'm like, I got a quick list of movies. I wrote down 2 pages of movies. And then I realized that it was actually pretty good. I watched it back and there were some interesting moments and some lulls too. I hope we're not heading into a lull right now. Just talking about previous shows. Maybe that's boring for people. Who knows? I don't know. But it was when it got later and I was really tired and I was just like, all right, this movie. All right, this movie.
Yeah.
All right, this movie. So we can do that topic again and really streamline it. But yeah, we were talking about doing some preparation. But yeah, people. Right. I was just saying how you know a lot about movies and how I personally always, when I'm talking to you about movies, I always learn something. Always. Like there's no exception to that. Whether it's a short conversation, a long conversation, I always learn something. Whether I retain that thing doesn't really matter, I guess. And it's probably even good for our podcast because you can tell me stuff and I can be like, that's amazing. And then next time when we're doing it for a different audience, you just tell me the same thing again. I will have an honest, reaction as if I'm hearing it for the first time because maybe I've forgotten it already. So,
and it's funny with me because throughout the years, I've had a number of people ask me how I did manage to gain the knowledge that I have. I mean, I'm not an expert by any means, but I would like to think that I'm knowledgeable. That being said, I think like what happens is with me, I can go back to when I was a child and I remember that I would see something, whether it was a name or something like that once, and I would automatically remember.
So you have a photographic memory for that type of stuff.
Yeah. Like I wanted to see the movie The Empire of the Sun because I knew who Steven Spielberg and John Williams were. And I was like, I don't know how old I was when that movie came out, but I was still very young. Right. So,
and so it's interesting because I'm very sure that I have a photographic memory when it comes to music. And
I learn a lot about music from you. So it's nice that we
specifically
we can educate each other.
Thank you. Specifically, like if I hear a melody, usually I could hear it once. And even from when I was really, really little, I could hear it once. Instantly, I could sing it back to you. It's a gift. I should use it more. I mean, I do use that skill when I do music. I use it in various different ways. But it's true. And I'm not even like people can test me if they want to. I could hear a melody once, and then 10 years later, I could just sing it back to you. Now that's a skill that not everybody has. I'm sort of it's the type of thing that you learn that's special after a long time, right? And I think with me, one of my deficiencies and something that I would love to be better at, and maybe I could if I had the right, type of training, is being able to like read something and then remember it. And that's close to what you were saying. Now, this is within your interest, right? But I think you probably have that skill beyond just movies, but because you're interested in it, it helps. It's the same thing with music and me, because I love it so much. It helps with that skill. But that skill, you're able to read information and retain it forever, right? And it's exactly the same thing. And it's just funny because I would love to be able to do that, but I just literally can't. Like I read things and I'm like, that's fascinating. I'm going to remember that forever. And it's just like, I just don't.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even just a very, very short, funny little story here. I had seen The Breakfast Club. I'd seen The Breakfast Club for the first time when I was much younger. And then I can't remember how much longer it was afterwards, but a little while later, I remember watching television and a commercial for the movie Platoon came on. And I said to my mom, hey, they could have got the guy who played the jock in that Breakfast Club movie to play this guy because they look the same.
Oh.
And my mom said, that's really funny. They're brothers in real life.
Right.
And I had no idea.
So in case anyone doesn't know who he's talking about Charlie Sheen, who was in Platoon, and Emilio Estevez in The Breakfast Club. They are brothers. In case anyone didn't know that. That's funny because that's one of those things I thought about like the other day when I guess last week or whatever, when my brain was abuzz with conceiving this podcast and I had talked to you about it. I'm like, that's one of those things that we're going to get. That's one of those facts that we're going to stumble across easily from just talking about 80s movies. The fact that those two are brothers. And does everyone know that? I mean, most people know that. Okay, so here's the thing. I want to get into. Oh, good. Our viewer count is going up. I love it. Don't look at it. Stop. I've got so many tabs open too on my iPad. So remember last time I was talking about how I have trouble like having more information on the ready here because there's so much stuff already it's being used for. So this time I tried to overcome that and I've got lots and lots of tabs. I know you said Wikipedia, but I've got all the IMDb. So you can look up the Wikipedia if you want. I've got some.
Sure.
I checked them ahead of time to make sure that they weren't. And some of them are kind of lame. Some of the IMDb entries, but I've got all of those almost opened up in their own separate tabs, so I can just refer to them. And I've got some other stuff too that I'm going to read, including our movie review. But I thought I would just start by I think I was Googling like the rules of vampires, and you know the rules. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because I was curious because in vampire movies. Are
you talking about like just like the basic lore?
Yeah, but like the rules of like how do you kill them and
sure,
stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I stumbled upon this page from actually the website How Stuff Works, and this is how vampires work. So we're talking about vampire movies tonight, everybody, and
they are all underpaid. That's how they work.
And actually, okay, so first, before I read that, right? So I forgot. And then I remembered, and you know, it was one of those things I should have written down. But we're getting past all that stuff, so it's going to be great. Before we get into our topic for the night, now that it's already 20 minutes into the show, everybody's talking about the fiasco at the Oscars, what you referred to as the hitch slap. I mean, you read that somewhere, and then when we were talking about it on the phone, I said, don't you know that hitch slap is already a thing? And you had not heard that before. For anyone else that doesn't know, a hitch slap is actually when Christopher Hitchens, who I think passed away, he's a well-known atheist debating religious people all the time on YouTube, or I mean, like it's all over YouTube. And when he would take them down, our show reminds you of. Oh, that reminds you of. You'll have to. Oh, that's Cookie TPC. That reminds me of Kinnering. What does that mean?
Oh, hi Cookie.
Slap. Hi, Cookie. Thanks for joining us. And so, right, when Christopher Hitchens takes someone down with his, atheism powers or whatever, that's called a hitch slap. And if you look on YouTube, a hitch slap. So they have now assigned a new meaning Well,
Yeah, it was,
as of Sunday
it was-
night, there's a new meaning to the word hitch slap, and
It was Jimmy Kimmel, if anybody's wondering. That's where I saw it.
okay,
It was on
yeah,
Jimmy
yeah.
Kimmel.
And so Brian mentioned hitch slap to me, and I'm like, what do you mean hitch slap is Christopher Hitchens? Is when you try to, she says, Kinnearing. Oh, like Greg Kinnear? Oh, yeah. Okay, this is funny. Kinnearing is when you try to surreptitiously capture a picture of Greg Kinnear at the airport without holding up or even looking at your phone. I love it. Thank you. And that's what the chat is all about. This is all working very well, everybody.
Now, this is a quick technical question. I apologize to anybody who's watching for this. Oh, there we go. I was just about to ask why I wasn't seeing the chat on my own screen, but now they all just came up.
There you go.
So maybe there's just a delay.
Yeah.
Okay. Carry on.
Make sure
as
you
were.
pause. Make sure you pause the video. You're getting a little choppy. You're not running the Twitch video.
Oh.
Gotta pause it.
Okay. Will the chat still run if I pause the video?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
great. Okay. See, we're all learning
Yep,
here.
we're getting it. And I am your technical support, buddy. Anything you need.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna give you Twitch learning. I'm going to read out every chat until we're huge and I can't keep up with it. I will read every single chat that I see because I've got it on multiple screens here in the Vinyl Garage.
Perfect.
So we are not going to spend a lot of time talking about the hitch slap because people have obviously, you know the reasons why. I don't need to explain. People aren't stupid. So, well, if they're listening to this podcast, they are. No. I'm the comedian.
See, it's too bad you prefaced this this section with the previous conversation we had about this because I was going to make a really dumb joke and just basically like, what are you talking about? What slap?
Oh yeah, I ruined it. So I ruined jokes. So I'm going to put. I don't have my graphic ready. That would have been wonderful, but I'm going to put 2 minutes. I have a second hand on my MacBook here. And I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock, and we're going to talk about the hitch slap, and then that's going to be it. That will be the final word.
Yep.
So at exactly 9:25, hey, McBeat Records with the emotes. Now, the emotes are going a little bit sluggish tonight. We tried to fix them. We actually started the show 2 minutes late. Well, Brian was like, oh, God, Angus has got to fix his emote wall. It's not working properly. But you know what? We came to the conclusion that it still works. They're just moving slowly. So that's what maybe they should be moving slowly during a podcast because it's not quite as energetic. Okay, go. Hitch slap, go. Talk about it.
What? You just want my take on it?
Yeah, I want your take, and then I'm going to say something about it.
Okay, so I'll say it really quickly. I think that Chris, the joke that Chris Rock made, it was just a really, really dumb joke. If he knew that she had alopecia, it was in really poor taste and it shouldn't have been made. And if he didn't know that she had alopecia, which apparently he is saying, it was still just a really dumb joke. That being said, I think that Will Smith totally acted out of line and unfortunately ruined not only what should have been an achieving moment in his career, but also ruined the ceremony for many other people, whether it was the guests, the hosts, or the winners, when it should have been a night of celebration, especially with some of the achievements that were made by some of the other winners.
I think when you were talking to me, so that was 1 minute. That was under a minute, man. That was well under a minute. Very good.
Thank you.
And I think, I mean, I don't have a lot to say. We talked on the phone for quite a while the other night, and we talked about that for way longer than any sane people should be talking about it. But like I said, when it comes to talking about you and movies and actors, and so it was in that category. We just get going and we can't stop, and that's why this podcast is going to be great. But we're almost at time for talking about this, so I'm just kind of reiterating some of the things that you told me. But it really hit home. I mean, I basically have the same opinion as you, basically, but it really, I really thought it was. I mean, I didn't even consider some of the things that you said about how some of the actors' achievements were overshadowed by that, and how they had won these people. So can you tell me again? It was like the first LGBT.
The first openly gay Latino actress winning for Best Supporting Actress, or winning an award at all, I believe, an Academy Award at all, and the first male deaf actor winning an Academy Award, plus the fact that Coda won for Best Picture was huge for many reasons, not only for the deaf community, but also, I mean, yes, Apple TV bought it, but that's where it premiered after Sundance.
All right.
Right. So and the subject matter of that film about how it was people coming together and learning to understand each other. And there was just a very weird vibe that ended up being set because of that, which changed everything that preceded.
Right. So you were saying there was a couple of people that were the first of their kind, can I say, to or the first of their community, trying to keep it as PC. We're trying to be on this podcast. We're trying to be PC and not PC at the same time. Can we do that? Is that possible?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay. So you got exactly what I was talking about. So the first people of their community to, thank you. Community is a good word. I'm trying my best. And I do have a good vocabulary. To win these awards, and then that happened before the slap. And then the slap happened and everybody fucking forgets, And
the fact that like it happened right, like the guy who won Questlove, who won the award for best documentary.
Questlove won an award for best documentary?
That's
like
the documentary
Questlove
that won.
From like The Roots?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It was his movie.
I didn't watch the Oscars, in case anyone wanted to know that. And when I called Brian, I knew that he watched it because he always has. And so I wanted to ask him. I mean, everyone's seen the Hitch slap, right? I think we're way over time on this topic now.
So anyway, Quest, I felt bad for Questlove as well because he had to go up there and accept this award while everybody, and probably himself, were still reeling about what just had happened.
Yeah.
And it overshadowed everything.
And you didn't even mention Questlove when we were talking the other night. That's crazy. Poor Questlove, and poor everyone else who had to have their moment in the sun crushed by Will Smith. I mean, like I'm a huge Will Smith fan from like the olden time. Like I like all his blockbuster movies for the most part and everything, but I probably haven't seen a lot of his better, more recent movies. But I was like, I'm the like type of person that was like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and like DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, right? And to see him, blah, 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 mature into an actor and legitimate actor and whatever. And then like, I'm just so disappointed. Like what a dumbass. Or he's got some like,
there's some serious problems going on
some
there.
Help.
Like he does need help. There's a lot of darkness in the man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. And I mean, because when you think about the end, and apparently they just released report today. The Academy said that they actually asked him to leave during the commercial break, and he refused.
I know. We're all up.
So it's like
we're all up to date.
So a man commits physical assault on live television, is asked to leave, says no. Then they give him an award, and he gets a standing ovation within 30 minutes
it's weird.
time.
A part of me wants to continue on this conversation
but we shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't. We need to stop it right now because what you just said sparked a whole thing about like racial stuff, and I wanted to like really carefully like talk about that.
Sure.
But I'm not gonna, because it's just gonna like it'll just go on and on and on and on and on. And believe me, I would be careful.
Have been talking it to death.
I would be careful. It would be like no, but I don't think it would be something that people would be offended by. It's just an exploration into like all of that, all of what you just said, and it's not. I don't really like when other people are saying like if it was a white guy that went up and slapped a black guy, and it's like I hate that stuff because it wasn't. So like why don't even like no one knows what would happen if it was a different people. Like nobody knows. No one expected that to happen. So that's kind of stupid. But like okay, I said I wasn't going to do it, so I'm not going to do it. The topic is done. We've gone way over the 2 minutes now, okay?
We have a particular race to talk about, and that race is vampires.
The vampire race. How vampires work. People have been dreaming up horrible monsters and malicious spirits for centuries. The vampire, a seductive, undead predator. is one of the most inventive and alluring creatures of the bunch. It's also one of the most enduring vampire-like creatures. It's also one of the most enduring vampire-like creatures date back thousands of years and pop up in dozens of different cultures. In this article, we'll see... This is not a long article. Wait a minute. Oh, no, it's not. I'm just reading the beginning of it. In this article, we'll see where the various elements of the vampire legend come from, and we'll examine some grounded scientific explanations for apparent vampirism. We'll also look at the psychological significance of these creatures and find out about some real-life counterparts to the supernatural vampire. This article is by Tom Harris. I'm not sure from when it was updated last year. I'm just going to read the first section, and it's called Vampire Basics. And then we're going to get into some movie reviews, basically. Okay? Vampire Basics. The vampires in contemporary books, movies, and television shows are incredibly elaborate creatures. According to the predominant mythology, every vampire was once a human who, after being bitten by a vampire, died and rose from the grave as a monster. Vampires crave the blood of the living, whom they hunt during the night. They use their protruding fangs to puncture their victims' necks. Since they're animated corpses, the living remains of a deceased person, vampires are often referred to as the undead. They can still pass as healthy humans, however, and will walk undetected among the living. In fact, vampires may be attractive, highly sexual beings, seducing their prey before feeding. A vampire may also take the form of an animal, usually a bat or a wolf. You and I were talking about that a lot during our conversation, our pre-interview stage. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. In order to sneak up on... So they do that in order to sneak up on a victim, according to Tom Harris. Vampires are potentially immortal, but they do have a few weaknesses. They can be destroyed by a stake through the heart. Now, this is important. Let's remember all these things and see if we can identify in which movies some of these rules apply or not. Do you understand?
Yeah, because there's also certain movies that change the rules intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a stake through the heart, fire, just straight up fire. Doesn't matter where on the body. So I guess you set their foot on fire, and that's bad. Beheading, and beheading, we know that. And direct sunlight. And they are wary of crucifixes. So they're wary of crucifixes. Although I've seen in some movies, some crucifixes do some highly flammable are vampires. What's that from? I've seen some crucifixes, holy water and garlic. So that's what it says. They are wary of crucifixes, holy water, and garlic. Vampires don't cast a reflection. They have superhuman strength. Yeah, I've seen some holy water and garlic do some serious damage.
Especially holy water.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. It's like the movies get more and more intense. Maybe in the old-fashioned movies, they'd just be like showing them some holy water, and they're like, oh, and they run away, right? But when we have the special effects, then you can actually throw it on the face, and the whole head melts and everything, right? It's different. This vampire figure. So they have superhuman strength. This vampire figure, with its particular combination of characteristics and governing rules, is actually a fairly recent invention. Bram Stoker conceived it in his 1897 novel, Dracula. Other authors reinterpreted Dracula in a number of plays, movies, and books. But while the specifics are new, most of the individual elements of the legend have deep roots spanning many regions and cultures. In the next few sections, we'll look at them. Blah, 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 blah. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot more, but I was looking for sort of a list of the rules. I had read a few different things, and that one was, I sort of liked the synopsis including the rules.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there any place that you would like to begin? Or would you
Well,
like me to lead the way?
Well, I think that the best place to start, and this is my understanding, is that because we're talking about the movies, that the first vampire movie ever made was Nosferatu.
Ah, excellent.
I believe that's known as the first one. And the story apparently behind that is that F.W. Murnau, the director, wanted to adapt Bram Stoker's Dracula, but the Stoker estate would not give him the rights to it. So he decided to adapt it his own way by changing the character's name from Dracula to Nosferatu.
Wow.
And that's why that movie became what it is now.
And that's why it's called Nosferatu. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the other night. Where's our list? Hold on. That's you mentioned the other night Shadow of the Vampire.
Yes,
Maybe
which
we
is
should segue into that.
Yeah, because Shadow of the Vampire is a reimagining of the making of Nosferatu, where Max Schreck
fictionalizing.
Yeah, it's fictionalizing and reimagining the idea. And I say reimagining because they take the character of Max, or the actor Max Schreck, who played Nosferatu in Nosferatu. In Shadow of the Vampire, they imagined that he actually was a real living vampire that F.W. Murnau hired to play the role.
Play a vampire.
Yeah, and in Shadow of the Vampire...
I'm certain that I've seen Shadow of a Vampire, but it's been a long time, and I very much enjoyed it.
F.W. Murnau is played by John Malkovich, and Willem Dafoe plays Max Schreck.
I'm just going to go, Malkovich!
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to do that whenever...
But it was a really cool reimagining of that story, and it kind of makes you wonder, what would you do if you had to work with an actual living vampire?
Yeah,
it's just neat.
It's, minimum safe distance, maybe some sort of like non-neck biting contract.
And now this is
one second.
This is a
go ahead, keep talking.
Sure.
I'm here.
This is a little bit in spoilery territory. But in the movie, in Shadow of the Vampire, it's eventually revealed that John Malkovich actually knows that that F.W. Murnau actually knows that Max Schreck is a vampire. Like in the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, maybe he doesn't know and he's caught off guard. Yeah. But in the movie, it's eventually revealed that no, he knows the entire time and has to start making deals with him to go and kill various crew members. And there's a great scene where they're outside. Max Schreck and a couple of the other characters are just outside chatting, and this bat flies down from the sky, and he literally catches the bat and starts sucking its blood and eating it in front of them. It's fantastic.
I remember. McBeats Records. Do you like vampire movies? I'm just going to ask you that, and just to test if he's still here also, and that'll keep the chat going.
Me personally, do I like vampire movies?
I say McBeats Records or Max.
Oh, okay.
He knows what his name is. His name is Max.
Yeah.
I try not to say
Max.
I try to use people's pseudonyms on Twitch, because some people don't want it, but I've used Max's name enough times on my live streams that everybody knows it's Max. Everybody knows it's Max. Max has a number one first badge beside his name, because he was my first subscriber on Twitch.
Oh,
and he is my good friend. And I think he may have left, but that's okay. Maybe he doesn't like vampires. Maybe his internet failed. Who knows? I'm not going to be preoccupied with that, but I think he's back now. Max, if you're here, do you like vampire movies? Just so, all right. So we talked about Nosferatu. We talked about Shadow of the Vampire, which was the obvious, segue there. Okay, I'm gonna just pick one. How about that? I'm gonna pick one.
Okay.
Up in this bitch. All right, let's just
Up in this
do it like this.
bat.
So late last night, I was like, Yeah, lurking is valid, Cookie TPC says. Max is a lurker. You got it dead on. He's such a lurker. Last night, after I finished rewatching Fright Night 2, Part 2, or whatever it's called, I did watch me some Blade until I fell asleep, really, really tired and stoned on the couch. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You can see the poster on the screen.
Yeah.
There.
Blade was a movie I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't seen it in a while. And the stuff that I have seen, it's kind of like been in little snippets on television. I remember really liking the movie a lot when I saw it in the theater, especially and even now, anybody who's seen that movie who might not remember that movie, everybody remembers the opening scene with the blood rain.
That's what helps me remember the rest of the movie is that it's very effective.
And seeing that for the first time, having no idea that it's coming, it's just
I think I was on drugs when I saw that the first time, possibly some sort of stimulants or what am I talking about? But I was, and it was awesome. There's a few movies that I can remember being on psychedelics or something when I saw them, and it was fantastic. I saw it. Do you remember when they rerun? This is a little off topic. Remember when they reran Aliens in the theaters, at the Uptown, because they used to do we were literally tripping on LSD and went and saw that. Aliens in the theater, and I was in the Uptown theater in the front row with our feet up on I'm talking Niall and Kieran, and we're sitting there smoking cigarettes, for Christ's sake. It's not that there was smoking allowed in there, but this is anyway, that's a little off topic, but yeah, the opening scene in Blade, very effective. I didn't watch that scene last night because it was already really late, and I loaded it up on Roku, and it looked like I had already started watching it at some point before. So it was actually just after that scene. It was at the end of the hospital scene, right? Mm-hmm. At the beginning?
Yeah.
So I know what happens before that. So I didn't watch that great scene last night, but I know, I knew, I was I don't need to, I'll be asleep by this point. If I just rewind it to the beginning, I'll be asleep by this point, so I might as well just watch it from here. And I didn't make it to the end, but it was thoroughly enjoyable, and I want to watch the whole thing again. I do like Blade. So what's the deal with Blade? Here, let me bust out my IMDb for a second. But what's the deal with Blade? Was he bitten, or do you remember?
I can't even remember.
Yeah, but he has to have these. So do you remember some of the his co-stars? Snipes.
Well, Chris
Christopherson, the best.
He's so good.
Country. What are you saying? What to Cookie TPC? You got to be more specific, or is my memory not working? That I didn't. What are you saying? What to? Help us out here. Help me out.
What do you mean you don't remember? Disappointing.
I don't remember. Who said I don't remember? I forget now.
Me, probably. Or both of us, because you're how did he become a vampire?
Oh, right.
Let's
Okay. So she's talking about was he bit or not? Whether right. So he was. But, well, no, I'm just saying. I was trying to explain to Brian, who hasn't seen it in a while, that all throughout, or I mean, they make a big deal about the fact that he's got to get these injections from his buddy Chris Christopherson, right? That are very painful. Yeah. And I assumed, I was watching it last night. I'm is that because I think I missed the explanation, or
yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it, so that's why I don't remember.
Oh no, his mother was a vampire. Isn't that what it is? Please confirm.
Or was he always a vampire and he was just bitten by Wesley Snipes?
I'm gonna just I'm gonna read. Oh, so it's a graphic novel. Is that how it's special? Is that what sets it aside from his mother was Blade, a vampire? Yes, I remembered.
Yeah,
it, right.
Blade.
So
Blade is a
Blade
is a Marvel.
Wait a second.
Property.
Well, how come we don't have any more examples of vampires giving birth to half human children? I've never heard of anything like that. So I mean, that's an original idea.
Cookie might be able to help out with this. Because I don't know the Twilight series very much, but doesn't she get pregnant in Twilight?
Mother was a vampire. We do lots. We do. Are you a vampire, Cookie? We do.
Yeah, Twilight and Discovery of Witches. Apparently, they give birth.
Oh,
to-
okay. All right. Thank you. Good examples. Thank you very much. This is wonderful. I've always wanted to do a live stream. See, usually I'm DJing, right? So I'm like, oh, the chat. But like, I've always wanted to do a live stream where we are like really interacting. And now here we are interacting with Cookie TPC during our show.
Yep.
It's fucking awesome. I'm going to go ahead and just read this person's review on, nope. I'm going to read the storyline really quick because it's short. In a world.
Okay.
I should have like a nice like reverb effect on it. In a world where vampires walk the earth. Is that good?
That works for me. I like it.
Where vampires walk the earth. Blade has a goal. His goal is to rid the world of all vampire evil. When Blade witnesses a vampire bite. When he witnesses a vampire bite Dr. Karen Jensen, he fights away the beast and takes Jensen back to his hideout. Here, alongside Abraham Whistler, played by Chris Christopherson. Blade attempts to help heal Jensen. The vampire Quinn, who was attacked by Blade, reports back to his master Deacon Frost, who is planning a huge surprise for the human population. That's just a really quick synopsis here.
Stephen Dorff.
Stephen Dorff, Frost. Excellent. And I do like. I do like. So it seems like there's a bit of a. I like the idea. I think they kind of ran with that idea where that wasn't really done. What I was talking about before about someone preventing themselves from being a vampire. So Blade's trying to prevent this woman from being a vampire. Well, meanwhile, himself, he's trying to do the same thing, right? But slightly differently. And you don't see a lot, except for the examples that Cookie TPC gave there, right? You don't see that concept a lot in other vampire movies. I also love how, it says, the vampire Quinn, who was attacked by Blade. I love how Quinn just keeps getting fucked up in that movie, like by Blade. He gets his hand chopped off. And burned, completely burned, and his hand chopped off at the beginning. And then because they heal, but they take some time to heal. So just when he's all healed again, Blade comes in and just like chops his arm off again or something. Like he just keeps getting fucked up. I love it. Good action. I am a fan of Wesley Snipes.
And we are soon to see a new iteration of Blade.
Yes.
In the MCU.
What I don't understand what that means.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're introducing Blade very soon.
Because I guess it was originally a Marvel thing, or at least it was a comic book thing.
Yeah,
it was a Marvel
it's based
thing.
on a Marvel property,
Cool.
and they're bringing them in now.
Excuse me.
And as most people might remember too, Blade also spawned 2 sequels.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you remember anything about them?
And I believe a limited run television series as well. Yeah.
So yeah, half vampire, half mortal man. There we go. It says right there at the top, a half vampire, half mortal man becomes a protector of the mortal race while slaying evil vampires. Can you think of any other films, I mean, in our list or otherwise, where there's like a really, really good vampire hunter? You know, like maybe like someone that's a vampire hunter.
Abraham Lincoln, vampire hunter,
vampire slayer, maybe.
Ooh.
Oh, what?
Oh my goodness, Buffy!
With the podcast production up in here, go, Brian. Go.
Buffy. You want me to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
What the fuck do you think I want you to do?
I don't know. You're like, go. Okay, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes, Buffy. I saw that film in the theater when it had come out. I remember loving its campiness, thinking that our lead was incredibly cute, teenage boy. So she was great. But of course, like the thing that I think most people really loved, at least at the time, was Paul Rubens, aka
oh my god,
Pee Wee Herman, as Rutger Hauer's little sidekick. And the whole when he gets stabbed and he just won't die.
Oh my god, that's the best.
And there's so many great lines in that movie. Yes, as Cookie says, Paul Rubens stole the film. And it's funny because
doesn't he always?
And if you go to the movie and you go to the end credits, there's an after credit scene where he's still in the corner going, ugh,
Yeah. No, I totally remember. I completely
but there's so
forgot about
many.
that.
There's so many great lines in the movie. One of my favorite lines in the movie is that I think Paul Rubens has his hand cut off at one point.
Oh my.
And he says something like he's trying to seduce Buffy. He's like, come on, Buffy, join us. If you join us, we can do anything. And she goes, oh, yeah? Clap.
Yeah. No, I remember. Oh, my God, dude. I remember
that line
all
at
these
Rucker
moments
Hauer,
really well.
that line at Rucker Hauer saying, kill him a lot.
Now, who's that? What?
Rucker Hauer?
I forget. Sorry. Help me
Rucker
out.
Hauer is the actor. He passed away recently, either last year or the year before. He'd done a lot of stuff. He was in Lady Hawk. He was in Blind Fury.
Man, the name sounds so familiar. I can't picture him.
Oh my God, he was in freaking Blade Runner. He was the bad villain in the original Blade Runner.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like the big bad vampire in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, of course he is. Yes. I remember. Now I remember all of it. See, I couldn't remember. All I could remember from that movie. Now, see, I think this is the other thing I wanted to get into right off the top that I kind of forgot was that I'm sorry, I'm trying to read the chat too. If I'm falling behind, but we got you. We're listening. We're reading the chat. Yeah. Everyone's in a conversation together here. I wanted to say that I did not have the time to research things as much as I wanted to. I got a lot of the stuff together for this show, which I think I did a pretty good job to get it running. But I didn't do some of the research. Some of the research, I was talking to Brian about this, was having to watch a bunch of movies, which is when you have two little kids, it's like trying to find the time. So yesterday I had this block of time where I was like, I'm going to rewatch one good movie and I'm going to do all this stuff. And then I dropped a fucking fluorescent bulb on the carpet in the studio and broke it. And we had to evacuate the garage, and then I had to spend hours cleaning it up. Like I literally rotated the carpet and I vacuumed it with a mask on, and I don't know, it's mercury dust. So what the fuck are you gonna do? Like, anyway, so I wasn't able to rewatch some things that I wanted to, and I wasn't able to get it. But I'm kind of proud of myself that I actually still got the very basics together for what we needed, and I rely on Brian. And then so when I put up the poster for Buffy, he tells me all of the things that I want to remember about the movie. All I could remember was Luke Perry.
Well, okay, so a couple other little history points with Buffy the Vampire Slayers. It was an early Joss Whedon effort, so he still wasn't a household name at the time.
Did he not?
He did the show.
To do the show, that was his, and then he went on and on and on.
So
and he became
what happened? Then he became a creep. But no, what happened with Buffy originally apparently is that he had written the script and he had such a horrible time with how they were approaching the material and the rewrites that he decided to excise himself from the proceedings of them making the film. And he was so disheartened by it that he decided, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this as a TV show, but I'm going to do it the way that I always intended to. Since the movie was never, I don't think the movie was initially intended to be as goofy as it was. Like it was supposed to be funny, but it was supposed to be smart Joss Whedon type funny, right? Like more quippy than goofy, if that makes sense. But so he left the project, and I'm not 100% sure, but what I found weird is I remember watching Buffy the show, and a little side story here. I caught a couple episodes. I didn't care for it because it wasn't the movie. Right. And then years later, the show had just ended and somebody said, no, you have to watch them. And I watched the entire series within the course of about a month. I couldn't get enough of it. It was great.
My story is sorry, go finish.
Fran, I think that the guy's name is Fran Ruby. I hope I'm saying his name right. And I apologize to anybody if I'm saying this. Fran Ruby Cazell. Anyway, what I found really fascinating was I believe that individual who was the director of the movie, I think was also a producer of the TV show. I'm like, did they settle some sort of a score with each other? Like, did they just let bygones be bygones? And another side note, Buffy, that a lot of people might not know or remember is if you look carefully, you don't even really need to look that carefully because he's very much on screen. A very, very early screen appearance by Ben Affleck.
What?
On the basketball court. He's one of the basketball players. The guy, the one who plays the friend.
When I think early Ben Affleck, I think Mallrats.
No, this is Ben Affleck. He's basically a one-line extra.
Yeah,
so
he's the back
on
of
the basketball.
like the back of a Volkswagen.
No, they're playing. They're playing basketball, and it's when the friend gets turned into the vampire.
Yeah.
And they're playing a game of basketball at the school, and he's like, you can see the guy's now obviously a vampire. He's showing teeth, all that stuff, and Ben Affleck has the ball, and the guy's like, Ben Affleck's just like, it's all yours, man, and walks away, leaving the guy with the basketball.
I'm sure I'm sure every time I watch it,
also
I was
believe,
like, Ben Affleck.
And I also believe that Ben Affleck's voice was overdubbed.
Oh, I mean, that happens, man. That happens very, very
the
possible.
one line.
Like, do you think maybe it doesn't sound like his voice, or he overdubbed it because there was something wrong with it, or?
I just heard a story that it's not his voice. I don't remember. I remember seeing him in
that is.
I remember
so
seeing him in the
possible.
scene.
That stuff happens.
But I don't
all
remember
the time.
audio.
It happens all the time, and we don't know about it because most time when it happens, it's so well edited that you would never know, and that's
Except for Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan.
I remember. It's interesting.
Andy McDowell's voice was redubbed by Glenn Close.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Is that Highlander? There can be only one. Is that?
Yes, it's Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert.
Greystoke.
Okay, I have a weird memory about. See, this is what this podcast is all about. Someone says a movie that's not even the topic of the evening, and it triggers a memory from Brian or myself. My dad took me to see that in the theater. Now, can you...
Greystoke?
Yeah. Can you look at what year that came out? Let's look that up here.
It was 80s, obviously.
Greystoke. I don't know. Oh, Greystoke Snowmobile. No, what the fuck? Okay, I'm failing at Googling stuff right now. Anyway, I shouldn't have done that. I should just leave it to you.
84.
Thank you. So that would make me 5 years old. So I can't have gone to see that in the theater when I was 5 years old. But it must.
I think it was only PG, but I also wouldn't think it was very entertaining for kids.
No, but it was intense.
It's a giant court case.
Like, it was intense. There was some.
Okay.
It was probably PG, but I remember it being like pretty intense. There was some some death or some stuff, violence or something, not too bad, but there was some. It was intense. My earliest memories of going to see movies, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but I actually didn't really remember about Tarzan until just now. But Tarzan and Star Trek 4, one of the first movies I ever saw in the theater. The Never-Ending Story, also probably before Star Trek 4, and I had to leave. I was so young. I believe we were in Montreal. My mom took me to a theater to see The Never-Ending Story, and I was afraid and I was crying, and she had to take me outside. I believe we were with other family, so we had to wait while they finished watching the movie, and she said she can verify this. I remember it too. I can picture it, and I don't know how old I was, but we sat and watched this glorious construction site the whole time while we were waiting for the rest of the family to come out of the movie. But I was terrified because I was terrified of thunder and lightning when I was a kid. And I don't know if you remember, but Never-Ending Story, go ahead.
Never-Ending Story, just for yearly references.
Absolutely.
Never-Ending Story was 84 and Star Trek 4 was 86.
Wow. So I don't know if these were movies that were being rerun in theaters. I'm not totally sure. I can't imagine I was that young seeing any of these. Maybe because that's what I was saying. You were saying Tarzan was the same year as Never-Ending Story, I think is what you just said. So those are two completely different memories, and I can't really place them in time. I can remember almost being there, but I can't really. So I don't know. It seems like I would be too young to go to a theater to see Tarzan when I was 5 years old, right? So it probably, but that they do. I think probably more in the 80s, they played movies for longer in the theaters, maybe, or they brought them back.
Oh, they did. Movies would be in the theaters for something like 2-3 years.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so then you go.
Back to the Future, I remember being in theater for at least a year and a half.
Finds out about that a movie is good and worth watching after it's been in the theater for a long time, and then they go and see it, right? Especially if they're going to be bringing their little kids. So yeah, I remember having to walk out of Never-Ending Story because there's a storm at the beginning when he's in his attic. It's right at the beginning. I think you can remember, right? It's been. I don't watch that movie now because of that memory. I don't watch it because
he hides in the attic at the school.
It makes me feel uncomfortable, right? And I that scene still scares me because it affected me so deeply, only just because of the thunder and lightning. Because I was going through a specific stage of my life where I was terrified of thunder and lightning. It took me a long time to get over that. And I'm still a little bit scared of lightning.
I loved lightning in
I'm
particular.
still
as
a little bit
child.
scared of it. I'm okay now, but
I used to call it Wonder Woman.
It's
I used to
awesome.
go, look, Wonder Woman.
I try to like tell my kids now that it's nothing to be afraid of, but there's a part of me that still doesn't. I don't like if I'm here in the garage by myself and there's a lightning storm. It's the idea is like I don't like having the window in my peripheral vision and then having it surprise me all of a sudden. I don't like that. If you want to go outside and watch it and I'm with someone and you want to go and watch the storm, then I don't care. But if it's just when I'm quiet and by myself and there's lightning, I don't like it. Anyway, had to walk out of Neverending Story. Tarzan had a pretty big impact on me. I think I was probably too young to see that movie. Star Trek 4 was one of the earliest movies I saw in the theater. And just while we're on the topic, and this will be actually a point of interest for our 80s movie sequel episode, but I saw Hellraiser when I was way too young to see it, and I literally vomited. Like, that's what happened. All right.
So you remember last week when we talked about me watching RoboCop? That same babysitter let me watch Hellraiser.
Oh my God!
Like, within the same year.
And how old were you again? Because I'm trying to place how old I would have been.
Oh, I don't know. I was like 10 or 11.
Yeah, I think I probably was around. Yeah, because it would have been like I would have been like grade 7, grade 6, something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
But you see, I was watching things like Nightmare on Elm Street when I was like 3.
Yeah, so. Hellraiser's a little bit more than that.
Hellraiser was 87, so yeah, I would have been 10.
Yeah, but we were watching it on video, right? So like the year that it came out is almost irrelevant in a way.
Yeah,
sort of, not irrelevant, but you know what I mean. All right, let's move along here. Ba-bam. You can see the thing on the screen. Say something about it.
Oh, vampires.
So
this is another one
I'll just preface your review by saying Brian is a huge John Carpenter fan.
Yes. Vampires. I have. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'll be really honest. I remember the beginning a lot, and it isn't it? You've seen this one recently?
More
Angus?
recently, yes, sure.
Okay,
I watch it all the time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the opening like they're like a team unit and they go and they pretty much all get killed except for James Woods? Isn't it something like that that happens?
No, they kick some serious ass at the beginning.
For some reason, I remember I remember the team mission.
I don't think the team is bigger than just him and so which Baldwin is it?
Would that be
I got it here. Hold on. I got my tabs. Just give me 1 sec here.
Or will it's
Daniel.
Daniel. Right, it's Daniel.
You thought it was Steven. Get out of here. So how many
come on, man. I literally, you know when I saw the movie? When it came out.
Right.
So see what year it came out. I am a huge John Carpenter fan. It doesn't necessarily mean that I've seen all of his movies within the last, recently. But I remember really liking James Woods because I like it when James Wood plays a smart ass.
Does he ever not?
As a human being in real life, we won't go there.
Have you ever seen Videodrome?
That's actually one that I have not seen.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think that's James Woods. If I'm not,
it is James Woods.
Oh, dude, you gotta see Videodrome. It's fucked up.
I know. I want to see it. I do want to see it. But no, Vampires I saw at the Bloor Theater. It was part of I don't think it wasn't the Toronto Film Festival. It was one of the horror movie festivals, but it was their closing film for the year. And I got free tickets to go see it on its premiere night. It was like a midnight screening, and it was everybody in the theater. It was like being at a fucking party. Everybody just had a blast watching it.
Yeah,
it was great.
It's a whole lot of fun. A bunch of vampire hunters aided by the Vatican are asked to hunt down a master vampire and his goons of vampires who are ripping and tearing humans apart, while the leader of the vampire hunter does the slaying and takes orders from the Vatican as his parents were killed by vampires. And he was raised by the church. The church has an agenda of their own regarding a centuries-old cross from falling into the hands of the master vampire. So basically, he's doing the church's bidding. But I remember there's a point where he's just like, fuck you guys. I'm just going to like, I'm not getting your damn cross for you. Like he sort of tries to go, but then everything turns out all right in the end.
Yeah.
So he's like the bad boy raised by the church. And that's a pretty good synopsis of the storyline that helps, to add to our comments. But yeah, so how many Baldwins are there?
Well,
I always
Alec,
forget Alec,
Stephen,
Stephen,
William, Daniel.
Isn't there an Andrew Baldwin?
I think it's just them.
No, there's no Andrew. Where am I getting that from?
I don't know. Well, there's an Adam Baldwin,
Adam.
but he's not a Baldwin. He's not a Baldwin.
Oh, he just has that last name.
Yeah.
So there's 4.
Yeah.
And and we list them from best to worst? I guess it used to be Alec until this unfortunate incident. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make light of it, but goodness.
Yeah.
Goodness. We
That
don't
was
need to talk about
awful.
that. Alec, Stephen, Daniel, Billy,
And William.
and Billy.
Yeah.
So,
Or Billy.
okay.
Billy
So
Baldwin.
again, what do you think in order of best to worst?
In terms of their careers?
Yes. And acting capabilities. Alec?
I'd probably put Alec first and then probably followed by William.
William and then Stephen.
Then Stephen,
And
then
then
Daniel.
Poor Daniel.
Yeah.
And I
I
always
know.
felt like
Poor Danny boy.
He did okay in Vampires, and it is cheesy, and James Woods is cheesy, and we all love James Woods. But I would have appreciated if it was a different Baldwin or maybe someone else entirely. I didn't like his part in that movie, but recovering from an ambush that killed his entire team, a vengeful vampire slayer. I already read a synopsis. We don't need it. Oh, there's a whole bunch.
See,
of
that killed his entire team.
Okay, yeah. So that's how the movie opens.
So I am right.
What? Aren't you always? Don't listen
No,
to
I'm
me.
not. That's why I
No,
was
I
asking.
know. No, but I didn't remember.
Because
Okay.
it's been that long.
All right. So, but your memory serves you well, and I didn't remember it in the right order, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. So so the summary. Yeah. So recovering from an ambush that killed his entire team, a vengeful vampire slayer must retrieve an ancient Catholic relic that should it be acquired by vampires will allow them to walk in sunlight. You don't want that.
Well, Blade did. He was a day walker.
Yeah. So,
Right.
okay. So day walker. So, day walker, daybreakers.
Mm.
I have to close this other one. Where is it here? Bye-bye. Daybreakers. Can you sum it up?
So Daybreakers is I have a fond appreciation for it simply because it takes the traditional vampire lore and it does something where it kind of turns it on its head. So basically, in
When
a
was
nutshell,
this movie?
2000 and I want to say 2009.
Okay. Post 2000. That's okay. You can look it up.
Yeah, 2009.
You got
was
it.
2009. Yeah. So basically, it's like it takes place in some. I don't think they specify the year, but it's supposed to be like the future, and pretty much the
2010.
But pretty much, I say the future because literally the entire free world is pretty much been turned into vampires. So humans are now a commodity, and the idea is that humans are almost completely wiped out. So they're trying to figure out what they're going to do because they need human blood, because it turns out that not drinking human blood does something to their brains and turns them into those traditional, more like vicious demonic
I thought you were going to say
creatures.
Yiddish for a second.
Not Yiddish, no. Vicious demonic creatures. So they basically go, no pun intended, batshit crazy. So they're trying to develop this new cure that's going to stop that from happening, and also because they're like I said, they're running out of humans. They're harvesting humans. They have a whole like military group that goes out to hunt humans to bring them back. And basically, Ethan Hawke, who plays the lead characters, he's a vampire. He works for this organization that's supposed to be helping create this new cure, this fake blood, if you will. And he ends up meeting Willem Dafoe, who is a former vampire who has been cured. And that's kind of the basic premise. Like, where do they go from there?
Wow.
But now he's got, of course, the organization going after them because he's hanging out with humans, and that's not good. And it's a really, really fun movie.
I'm fairly certain I've seen it, and I was one of them I really wanted to rewatch this week. And
Yeah.
I didn't get around to it, but I will.
Yeah, and it's a great. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's the first movie by the directors. They're known as I think the Spierig brothers. I think I'm pronouncing that right. They went on to do a movie that I actually also watched recently called Predestination, which was their own kind of twist on. Well, I shouldn't say their own. It's based on a Robert A. Heinlein short story called All You Zombies. I think the name of the title is, and that's their own kind of spin on the time travel genre. So they've proven to be really good by using a rather minimal budget and putting a new spin on an otherwise overused genre.
Well, it sounded like they're mixing some genres there. When you said zombies and time travel.
Well, it's not. It's called, the short story is called All You Zombies, but I think it's and I don't want to go too far into Predestination because one, it's not a vampire movie, but more importantly, it's one of those movies that's so fucking hard to talk about without, even in terms of its premise, without spoiling anything, because part of the joy of that movie is just being along for the ride when you don't. All I knew when I sat down to watch, I'm like, it's going to be a time travel story. That's all I knew. That's it. Okay, time travel yarn, great.
Yeah, I love.
And
time travel.
I was like, what am I watching?
What is this?
And it turned my brain to jello.
You'll
But
have
it
to
was
excuse me, but are we still talking about Daybreakers, or did you spin onto something else from there?
We were talking. Well, I'm talking about the directors of Daybreakers. They went on to do
Predestination.
To do this other. Yeah.
That's what it's called.
So they work really well. Yeah.
Okay.
They work really well with Ethan Hawke, and they work really well with a small budget, and they work really well by doing new spins on old genres.
Wow, this is another one that we have to watch. Predestination. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
So yeah, like vampires are the undead. There's a lot of different types of undead. There's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we go on, just because
ahead.
I want to say, because it's a neat little tie-in. So we just talked about Daybreakers, which has Willem Dafoe, and earlier we were talking about Shadow the Vampire. So he's now played a vampire twice. In two different movies.
When you said his name, I was like, what was the other one? Yes, good. So connections, we like that here on Talking About. So vampires are undead. And you mentioned zombies. Zombies are also undead. Are werewolves vampires?
Don't do this. This is, by the way, anybody who's watching or joining us, this is Angus's best short, apparently.
Jiminy Glick. Oh, no, I didn't even do it. I didn't even go there. I hinted at it.
Oh, it was a big hint.
I know. Are werewolves vampires, Brian Russell?
No,
because
werewolves are not.
They have some of the same rules.
No, and like I said in our phone call when you asked this question, I think I speak for all of the Twilight fans out there. This is going to stir up some controversy among the Team Edward, Team Jacob folks, because in that story, one is a vampire, one is a werewolf.
I know, and I'm not. It's not a serious question. It's a funny way to talk about another. I guess the closest related genre, or one of the closest related things to vampires is werewolves, and it was a funny way for me to just address that. I think we just have to address that for a moment, because they do have some of the same, like, even the ways that you kill them are similar. Like I think, well, there's no vampire lore where they're susceptible to silver. That's strictly of
yes, and they touched
werewolf.
upon that in the Monster Squad, I believe. So that you can't, or no, sorry, no, they touched upon it they made a joke about that in From Dusk Till Dawn, which I know we'll get to eventually.
Sure.
About silver. Oddly enough, because I'm looking at the posters you chose, you have an American Werewolf in London on there, and that's directed by John Carpenter. No, not John Carpenter. Sorry, John Landis.
Okay, really cool.
Yeah. John Landis directed that. He also directed the music video for Thriller, so zombies.
I forgot about that, man.
He also directed a vampire movie called Innocent Blood, with Robert Loggia and it's not my God,
that's okay.
Anthony LaPaglia.
Anthony LaPaglia. Excellent. Yeah. Cookie TPC says, I might be wrong, but I seem to recall that werewolves have been around longer in modern human mythology than vampires have. Now, what other kind of mythology is
That's
there than
cool.
human mythology? I have to question you on that. But thank you. That's a good thing to know, and it's a good thing that we can verify that, or you can go and verify it yourself and come back and let us know if you can.
Hello, modern
Oh,
Oshi.
yeah, modern mythology, but whatever, that's awesome. Thank you.
And it's funny how many of these vampire, like things that start off vampire based, start to incorporate werewolves into the story. I mean, like besides Twilight is a more
Yeah,
newer
no, they
one,
do.
but you have Buffy the Vampire Slayer had a
Oh,
werewolf.
did it? I'm
Yeah,
sure it
yeah.
did because that's hilarious.
The TV show had a werewolf.
Yeah.
The Vampire Diaries incorporated werewolfisms or werewolf characters into the proceedings.
You know what else?
True Blood did the same thing.
And you know what else? What We Do in the Shadows.
That's right. You mentioned that there's werewolves
The
in that too.
werewolves are fucking hilarious. Now, if no one has ever seen, I've never seen the series, and I can't believe.
And that's all that
the
Cookie
movie,
and I have watched. Is
the
the
movie
series.
made me laugh so much that I was concerned and the movie is, it's a regular length movie. So let's say it's between an hour and a half and 2 hours. I don't remember. I was concerned that because a series is like, 12 hours of content or however many hours it is, a few seasons, so probably more than that. I was concerned that if I watched it, I might die from laughing too much because that's just, it's too much. I mean, I'm a huge Flight of the Conchords fan.
Yeah.
But this was like, it was like nothing I had ever seen before. It's one of the best parodies of a genre I think that exists. And if you haven't seen
it was very smart to do a vampire story as a documentary or a mockumentary. I thought that was a really, really great approach. And unlike you, I haven't seen the movie, and all I've seen is portions of the TV series, which Cookie and I have watched. And the show is so funny. Like when you say you're worried about dying from laughing, that's a good worry to have because it is fucking hilarious.
Because like honestly, it's amazingly funny and original and ripping on all the old cliches, right?
Now, actually, speaking of cliches, this is something we haven't actually touched upon yet. The part of vampire lore where they have a familiar, one that they keep as a human to assist them.
Oh yeah,
right. Do they have that in the movie? Because on the TV show they have a guy.
She's a woman actually, and she's the I can't remember the characters' names. I apologize, but the guy that's lying down in the poster there. Yeah. He has a familiar, and she's a woman, and he keeps telling. It's hilarious because he's like stringing her along, and she does everything for him, and she's under his hypnotic spell. But she's just a regular woman that has like a family. She has like a husband and a son. But she keeps going out and doing these awful things for him, or just cleaning stuff. Like she's just like cleaning. Okay. He's like, I clean up all this blood in the kitchen, because there's like a massacre. Does she think
she's going to get something in return?
Well, she's been promised that she's going to be turned into a vampire, right?
Okay, they do the same thing on the show, except it's a male familiar.
Yeah. And it's very, very funny. Like the movie to me it's so funny that it's like comforting to watch. Like I watched it again not too long ago, and I was like, is this as funny as I'm going to remember it being? And it's just like right from the get-go. Like it's the mock document. I mean, I love the mock documentary style. Like, I love that in the first place. So it's mock documentary, it's vampires, which I kind of like. And then but the comedic chops of these people in this movie are just like it's the best, like just unheard of. And so then if you've ever seen Flight of the Conchords, which stars Jermaine, what's his name? Jermaine Clement. Is that his real name? Yeah. It's also his name on Flight of the Conchords. They used their real names, right?
Yeah, I think that's what he goes.
Yeah, so he's also in What We Do in the Shadows, and I believe he writes it and stuff, and or something. So they're in Flight of the Conchords. Their manager Murray plays the lead werewolf in What We Do in the Shadows, and it's the most hilarious thing. If you know the character of Murray, then you got to watch this movie because it's just hilarious. He's kind of lame but trying to act tough, and it's sort of like the same character as Murray from Flight of the Conchords, or it's hard not to see him as that character because that's just kind of naturally how he is. But the vampires and werewolves, they're both sort of out to kill humans, but they're kind of rival. They're like rival gangs in like the funniest way. But the vampires like mess with the werewolves. They're like, oh yeah, really funny, eh? And they take a ball and like throw it. And of course the werewolves like take off running after it because they're like dogs, right? Like there's stuff like there's gags like that where they're like, oh yeah, go get the ball, or something. I can't remember exactly, but it's so funny, making fun of all of the lore and everything. And it was a surprise that, and then they have, there's a part in the movie where they show a whole bunch of other, mythological, undead people at a party, that they're all partying together, like the zombies and the werewolves.
There's also a character on the TV show, and it's been a while since I've watched the show, but he's not a vampire as we know it with sucking blood and all that. I think he's like an emotional vampire.
What? No,
or something like that. And he basically he goes to work every day where his whole purpose in life is to annoy the shit out of people and to suck all of he's an energy vampire. That's what it is. He sucks all the energy out of the room.
Hilarious. This is what I thought from the show is like, how did they come up with that many more ideas to fill up that amount of time? I was like, did they just recycle all of the ideas from the movie or vice versa or whatever? I'm like, so I will watch it eventually. I'm sure it's hilarious. There's, in the movie, there's all kinds of other funny stuff that happens. They like, basically there's one guy that's like their friend and he's not a vampire. And then one night, one of the guys just bites him and then he is a vampire. But I think, but then that guy has a friend who's also not a vampire, and they keep him around as a buddy, and no one ever bites him. He knows that they're vampires. He doesn't really say anything about it, and they keep him around as their buddy, like he's their friend. It's just such an interesting dynamic. Like it's almost sweet. Like that's the thing about. Now, I don't know exactly who wrote this or directed it. I know it's, what's his name?
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure if he had anything to do with Flight of the Conchords, but that sort of element of maybe like The Office or Flight of the Conchords, where it's like stupid, funny, but it's also like sweet at the same time. Like, I mean, like emotionally. Yeah. Like that's a mark, I think, of really good writing, and that's what you have in What We Do in the Shadows. They actually managed to somehow sort of like tug at your like heartstrings or whatever within this like ridiculous like comedy parody.
Yeah,
it's the best movie ever, except for this movie. So Brian has never seen this movie. And
up until last night.
Oh, you didn't? Oh no,
I watched it last night.
Oh my god, dude!
Did some research. I watched it last night.
Okay, so I have some alternate posters here. I remember that one.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I remember this one. This one showcases the other two actors that are in it.
Yeah, I remember both of them. It's funny because like I remembered I hadn't seen the movie up until last night, but I do remember the movie. I just had never seen it. I do remember knowing
that's hilarious. And then I stumbled upon, I was looking for posters and I found this one too. That's kind of weird. Here, I'll mute the chat for a second. Isn't that strange? Do you think
that's very Dark Shadows?
Yeah. Do you think that's a like a fan made thing?
It looks like it could be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
So starring.
That makes it look like a black comedy. Which
I know.
It is not.
I don't know. That poster looks fake to me, but it was just an interesting find. So starring Lauren Hutton, Jim Carrey, Karen Copkins, and Cleveland Little, and that's pretty much the main cast. Oh, Stuart Charno. He looks very familiar. There's a few people that are vampires in there. Mm-hmm. And in case no one's ever seen it, I'm going to read the basic storyline. The Countess has a problem. She is a 400-year-old vampire who will cease to look young unless she is able to feed on a virgin 3 times before the upcoming Halloween. a week away. So really, are vampires automatically connected with Halloween? This is the first that I've heard of it. She sends Sebastian, her servant, and all of her lesser vampires out to find one, a virgin, that is. Finding a virgin is difficult in 1980s Los Angeles. Not really. In the movie, it's not really. Mark, played by Jim Carrey, has a problem. He wants to do it. We got to switch back to the other. This one's bugging me. I got to switch back. Hold on.
Goodness.
What? There we go. Just put the chat back on just in case. Mark has a problem. He wants to do it with Robin in the worst way. I don't know what that means. But she
really badly.
But she wants to wait. I know, but my mind went somewhere else. I don't know why. Like he wants,
as if
like
he wants to
in
do
the back
it really
of a,
badly?
like in the back of a, in the worst way.
Like in the back of a
Volkswagen? But she wants to wait. Jamie and Russ, Mark's goofy friends, convince him to go to a Hollywood pickup spot where Mark meets the Countess on the prowl. Robin's not going to understand this. That's the end of that particular synopsis. So you remember the bar that they go into, so you watched this last night. I haven't watched it for a long time, but I remember it pretty vividly. You remember the bar that they go into, the singles bar that they go into? Is that not the most like ridiculous like 80s thing? Do you think a place that ever existed?
No, see, and it's funny because I talked to Cookie last night about this, and I was like, so there's a scene that takes place in a bar. And it's supposed to be like some sort of like singles bar, or hookup bar, like whatever you want to call it. And on every table, there is a number on a little pole and a telephone in the center of the table. The idea is you look around the room and you go, hey, I like those people over at table 7. And you pick up the phone, you dial 7, it calls their phone, and then you're supposed to basically see if the other table wants to hook up with you.
Yeah.
And I called Cookie and I'm like, do you know of anything like this that ever existed? Because it was fucking ridiculous and it was kind of gross. Like, I was like, this is insane.
Wow. Yeah. There's plenty of gross, weird, like stuff in 80s movies, like whether it's like sexist stuff or
sure,
whatever.
But like this was just like, it was not only gross, but just really bizarre.
Bizarre. It is bizarre. And
like,
then
it was almost like they were...
What makes it more bizarre is then there's a fucking raid, right?
Yeah.
What happens
and then the
again?
2 guys get strip searched.
Why is there a raid again? I'm trying to remember.
Because one guy comes in.
He has a gun. He's got there's not a raid.
He's got because there's he's off. He's off hooking up with.
Wife.
He goes off to hook up with the vampire with Lauren Hutton. And his 2 friends are left by themselves. They call a table. They go over to the table. And as they're hanging out, a guy walks in, and it turns out that he's like the boyfriend or husband of one of the women that his 2 friends are sitting with.
And then he pulls out a gun.
And then eventually he pulls out a gun, and this whole big fight happens. And the cops come in, and Jim Carrey and Lauren Hutton take off. And then later on, the 2 friends say, "Oh, it was really fun when we got strip searched. We almost got lucky." I'm like, why did they strip search the 2? What?
No, and there's some weird, like not politically correct stuff that happens.
Oh, the shower scene. I was like, my jaw hit the floor.
Remember.
I cannot believe.
Oh, the boys are showering in the gym, like after gym
where
class.
They use that word that we don't say,
like the F word.
Yes, it was really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
No, I know. And we talked about that the other night. We were talking about live on our test podcast about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they used that word as well. Yeah. Probably not quite as bad, but I mean,
no, this was bad because you had everybody running out of the shower screaming in terror.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like even in Bill and Ted's, they shouted it at the something. They shouted it off the thing or whatever. I think what's worse I always found about Bill and Ted's is it was in the second movie. They never made that mistake in the first movie. Right?
Yeah, they never called each other that in the first movie. Yeah.
And then because they're like they hugged each other's robots or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
gay
to them.
was
and gay is bad somehow.
Yeah, but in this particular movie, that shower scene, I was just
right.
What is
because
this?
they were. I remember now. No, he's gotten bit already.
Because they're trying to see.
But he's gotten bit on the nether regions. That's what's unique
He's
about
bit on
this.
on his inside thigh. Yeah.
Right. Okay. On his inside thigh. So
It's his girlfriend that gets his two friends to like, oh, can you go look for me?
right.
And
So
it's funny
they're
because
looking
later
in
on,
the shower,
after
and then
Yeah.
everyone runs out because they're being gay in the shower.
well, they're looking in the shower. They're looking in the shower, and then finally one of them grabs Jim Carrey because go look, check it out, and then he goes down. So you got one holding him, and then you got the other guy down on the shower floor looking up, and that's when they all start screaming that really disgusting, offensive word.
Sure.
And running out
It's
in
only
terror.
it's just a bundle of sticks. It's okay. It's okay.
But then and then later on,
Do you remember that book?
Which
Since
book?
we're on the topic, A Bundle of Sticks.
No, I don't remember.
It was
that
about
book.
the misuse of that word.
Oh no, don't.
When I
remember
was
that
in
book.
public school, there was a book published called A Bundle of Sticks, and it was about the teacher would give it to the kids, read it to the kids, or was reading material, suggested reading material to deal with that was happening at the time in the 90s, the use of that word and the fact that it does mean a bundle of sticks, and that it could be okay. I don't remember the book, but the point is it's like it has a meaning and it's been reappropriated, and if someone calls you that, then you can just be like, you just called me a bundle of sticks, so fuck you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fuck you, and then you say it back to them. No, wait, oh no, I called them a bundle of sticks, man.
So now the weird thing with this scene, I'll be honest, because I was even thinking this, I'm like, why are they going to all this trouble to look for? Why don't they just fucking ask him?
Right.
They're his friends.
Well,
And then sure enough, when the scene is over and they're going back to like the little restaurant place that they
It
work
was
at,
so
the burger
important
place.
to.
And then Jim Carrey says, you guys are my friends. You could have just asked. Like,
Oh no,
thank
it was
you.
all to facilitate the hilarity of people
Thinking
yelling
that somebody is
bundle of
gay.
sticks and running out of the
God.
shower room.
Stupid.
Let's never speak of this film again. All right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really one of my favorites.
It's been a long time, but I
to
love
me,
that
it
movie.
feels a little bit like vampires in its.
Well, it's a Western. It's a vampire Western.
Yeah.
In its own way.
Badassery, but it's definitely more badass, especially because there are many characters that are badass in it. Whereas in vampires, it's pretty much only James Woods that's the badass, and everything else is kind of lame. If you say some stuff about this movie, it may help me to I don't know, remember some things.
Well, one of the things and it's funny because like she's now an Academy Award winning
Catherine Bigelow.
director, Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah.
Αυτή was her first big screen movie.
Didn't she direct Jim Carrey in a few things too?
I don't know about that. I know that this was her first big screen movie. And this was also, I believe, where she met James Cameron.
Nice. And there's
who
all
then they
kinds of
ended up-
connections there. Let's dig into
because
this. Let's
because
unpack
the
this,
connections
as they
here
say.
is you've got three of the actors who were in Aliens.
Yep.
Two of those actors were in the first Terminator. One of those actors was in the second Terminator.
And in the second Predator.
What's that?
And then two of them were in the second Predator. Did you forget that too?
The second Predator.
Yeah, Predator 2.
Well, Bill Paxton's in it.
And sorry, I'm going to call up my IMDb to tell you the other name. I win. Jeanette Goldstein is also in Predator 2.
Is she in Predator 2?
Absolutely.
Who does she play in Predator 2?
The other cop.
No, that's Maria Conchita Alonso.
Shit. Wait.
Jeanette Goldstein is in Terminator 2. She plays John Connor's mother.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Not mother.
Oops.
Sorry, stepmother.
Wait a second. Oh, but wait. I thought you said that's the woman in Aliens, though. Am I getting them mixed up?
The woman in Aliens, Jeanette Goldstein, is in Near Dark and Terminator 2.
That's not the same woman from
and the woman who played the cop in Predator 2 is Maria Conchita Alonso.
Okay. All right. I'm just double checking. On I'm looking on Jeanette Goldstein's IMDb. Yeah, Lethal Weapon 2, Terminator 2. Okay, I am a little bit confused now, but that's okay.
That's okay.
That's all right. I don't know
And
why
the
I thought
funny
about
thing,
that. But she did, the woman who was in Predator 2 with Bill Paxton did a good job, whoever the hell she is.
Marita Conchita
Yeah.
Alonso.
All
Yeah,
right.
she did
I always
great.
thought it was the same woman. Never mind.
But apparently, now one of the things that a lot of people might not know is that Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and Jeanette
Look,
Goldstein.
there they are.
Yep, the lovely trio from Aliens. They were apparently all roommates for a very long time. So that's why there's such great chemistry between them as well, and why they like to work together is because they lived together for like a decade.
Nice. Yeah. So, no, I thought there was another connection with Predator 2 there, and I'm a little bit disappointed. But Near Dark, it's a very entertaining movie. It's gory. I mean, are any of these vampire movies not gory? Well, some of them are a lot gorier than others. It's violent.
One of my favorite bits in that movie is the scene where they're at they go into the bar. And I believe it's Bill Paxton where he's like, I hate it when they don't shave.
Because he's like trying to suck the blood out of some some biker's neck or whatever. Yeah. It's hilarious.
And another funny thing too, when you think about the James Cameron Catherine Bigelow connection, it started here, and then it carried on through a bunch of other movies because they did Point Break together.
Nice. They
did Strange Days together. So yeah, it's pretty cool that it started with Near Dark.
A Midwestern farm boy reluctantly becomes a member of the undead when a girl he meets turns out to be part of a band of southern vampires who roam the highways in stolen cars. Part of his initiation includes a bloody assault on a hick bar. Yeah.
The only thing I remember it's like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. But the only thing I didn't like about it was I thought the resolution was a little bit too convenient. I got why they did it.
And remind me exactly what the resolution is.
The resolution was using a blood transfusion in order to make somebody human.
Okay, so here's the other thing, the thing that we were talking about with Blade and that aspect of Blade where they're trying to reverse the process.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah. No, but I mean, like, what would you have written?
I don't know. It's been, like I said, it's been a very long time since I've seen it. I'd have to watch it again to have a better assessment of things. Okay. I think. That's cool. I saw it when I was in high school. That movie.
Highly entertaining. If no one has ever seen Near Dark and you like vampire movies, then what the hell's wrong with you? It's got Bill Paxton.
It's very difficult to find. Soul. It's very difficult to find that movie on DVD.
Oh, interesting.
By the way. It's out of print. So if you find anywhere, it's usually like $30-$40 previously.
I believe you. Yeah. I was going to ask you actually. That just reminded me how you watch most of your movies. Now I know that you are still a pretty big theater goer, which is great. Most of the time you're seeing newer movies that way, but sometimes you're seeing older ones as well.
Yep.
You also have an extensive DVD collection. I guess I was asking, like, I got the feeling from talking to you the other day that you have cable. Is that something that you've always... Yeah, so... Is that a requirement for you?
No, see, well, the truth is when it comes to having cable, it's because it's included in my rent, so I have no choice but to have it.
Actually, I remember you mentioning that. Has that been like that for a long time, or did you move?
Well, ever since I've been here, so since 2017.
Oh, okay.
Or 2015, sorry. So that's why I have cable there. But I also, I still go to the theater on a regular basis. I do see both old and new. There's if anybody who lives in Toronto really likes old, obscure horror, sci-fi type films, check out the Kingsway Theater. I'm gonna have a little plug here. Check out the Kingsway Theater, which is at Royal York and Bloor. Every Friday night, they do a thing called Fear is Free Friday, where starting at 8:30, they show two older horror or sci-fi or thriller films back to back. completely free of charge.
Wow.
So I
Did they
actually
just
saw
rely on
RoboCop.
popcorn sales, or
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So I saw, like, for example, I saw RoboCop there last year
Nice.
in the summer. It's great. So yeah, so I do. Yes, I do go to the theater a lot. I still collect a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays. I do have cable, and I also have a number of the streaming services.
yeah, you have
so
a number of
that's-
streaming services, obviously. in
Yeah,
this
so I
day
have
and
my
age.
hands kind of dipped in anywhere where I
Nice.
can watch something that
You
I'm
know,
looking for.
I've learned to live without cable for a long time. What's interesting now
Yeah.
about being in Belleville is in Toronto, I could still use an antenna and pick up quite a few watchable stations.
Yeah.
I'm pretty simple when it comes to TV. If I have some daytime talk shows, I'm good. I don't know, but like, but there's nothing. I can't get antenna TV out here in Belleville, and we don't have cable, and we've never really had cable, and not since I was younger. But that must be a fairly good resource for catching the odd, older movie, and even maybe keeping up to date on some of the newer series and stuff. Right?
Yeah, well, Turner Classic Movies is great for the old stuff, especially like the really old stuff. By the time, like black and
Yep.
white and things like that, it's really awesome. AMC is okay for movies, but what I find is that they're either really poorly edited.
Oh God, yeah, like chopped up for time and content.
chopped up for time and content, and then sometimes it's like, okay, so say a movie's running time when it's not on TV is like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and you look at it like, so this starts at 1 o'clock
it's
in the afternoon
5 hours
and it
long.
ends at 4:30.
Yeah.
Like, what? This is all the commercials.
I know,
but
it's
it's
crazy. And
the
then
weird thing is,
they've
like,
cut
AMC,
out like half the movie too. You're like, how did you do that?
and the weird, that's the weird thing, is that AMC will show things like The Walking Dead, which is incredibly violent, yet they'll cut stuff out of movies.
No,
And I'm like, what?
I know, it's crazy.
Where does
They
that?
cut the weirdest
I don't
stuff
understand.
too. I wonder if they would cut that F word out of.
Oh, you mean to cut out the word mother?
No, I mean out of, like, it's fun. It's you just.
Oh, the other
yeah,
F word.
like that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. It's like if they showed Once Bitten, would they
Yeah.
cut that out? Because like probably they should
Yeah,
anyway.
I-
But
that-
it's
yeah,
just funny
they-
because I've seen them cut some stuff out that I was like, what? And then there's the whole like monkey fighting aspect of it, right?
And so now here's another thing that's weird.
Get those
is that
monkey fighting snakes off them. Monkey fighting plane.
actually, no, the best edit of that is, I'm sick and tired of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. On this Monday to Friday plane.
Mundane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and another weird thing they do is, like, so Pulp Fiction was on recently,
Yeah.
and they're showing it's not really the director's cut, because there wasn't a director's cut of that movie. There was
Oh.
just deleted scenes,
Right.
and they've inserted the deleted
Have they?
scenes into the movie while still cutting out other parts of the movie.
I've
I'm like,
never
what?
seen such a thing where they. I mean, maybe I haven't
Yeah.
didn't notice where they actually tried to pop the deleted scenes in. That's weird.
I noticed the scene with where when John Travolta first meets Uma Thurman, and she's giving him the interview on the video camera. That was in the script. That was a deleted scene on the DVD. It was not in the original movie.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So AMC is weird that way. And also, the worst thing though is that they show the same movies over and over.
Oh yeah, I know.
and-
know.
So it's like,
So-
Hunt for Red October is on. I know it's going to be on every day for like the next 3 months.
Yeah. So if I need to watch it, and then you wait a few months, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch it, and then it's gone.
And then they go in chunks too. Like, what I've noticed is, like, I could tell you every year the Karate Kid will be on in the fall.
Oh yeah.
Every year.
Every year. In the fall.
All the Karate
Why?
Kid movies.
'Cause fall. And then so you have Netflix and what?
Netflix, Crave, Amazon. Recently got Apple.
Oh, you can
recently got
connect.
Shudder.
If you're going to get into Twitch, you can connect
Yes,
your.
I'm gonna do the
your-
Prime-
Connect your Amazon
the Prime
Prime to
account.
Twitch. I don't know if you get
Yeah, that's
special
how I'm going to do the watch parties eventually.
things.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you mentioned Pulp Fiction briefly there. I know that you're a big Quentin Tarantino fan. Would you like to say a few words about From Dusk Till Dawn? am I
I'd love
doing?
to say it's good. I would love to say a few words about From Dusk Till Dawn. Yes, I'm a huge Tarantino fan, and I really, really like this film a lot. I know that it's a weird one because a lot of people go, oh, the first like half was great, and then the second half when the vampires showed up, it just got stupid. And I kind of like that. Yeah, a lot of people think that. A lot of people like the.
What were they expecting to happen? It's gonna be fucking.
Well,
vampires.
And it's weird because people say, oh, it's because they didn't advertise it properly, and I'm like, I remember the trailer, and I remember clearly seeing. Maybe I didn't know they were vampires, but I certainly knew that they were some kind of demonic entity.
About what you're saying is, it's almost like. It's almost parallel to like what the character experiences in the movie, because he's just like, we all know that fucking vampires aren't real, but there's fucking vampires attacking us right now, so let's just what do you know about vampires? You know, it's just like, that's how silly it is. And
and Tarantino, I believe, said in an interview, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something that what he wanted to do is he wanted to emulate the way that Stephen King wrote, where the first half or so of the stories is mostly just getting to know the characters and the relationships and to care about them, and then having the horror really kick in the second half.
So no horror at the beginning. Yeah,
just very, or just maybe
no vampires. That's the thing I kind of like about that movie is there's some
there's
violence.
Definitely some terror and violence.
But no vampires, no mention of vampires, nothing.
So for the uninitiated, From Dusk Till Dawn is about the Gecko brothers, played by George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino.
May I do the IMDb thing, and then you can tell us more about it, because it was a fairly good storyline here. This was one of the better storylines, because it really sets up. Actually, it really just talks you. It gives a really good synopsis of everything that happens until the vampires. After a bank heist in Abilene with several casualties, the bank robber Seth Gecko and his psychopath and rapist brother, Richard Gecko, who I believe he just refers to as Ricky. Is that right?
Yeah, there's Richie.
Richie, thank you. Continue their crime spree in a convenience store in the middle of the desert while heading to Mexico with a hostage. They decide to stop for a while in a low-budget motel. Meanwhile, the former minister, Jacob Fuller, played by Harvey Keitel, is traveling on vacation with his son Scott and his daughter Kate in an RV. Jacob lost his faith after the death of his beloved wife in a car accident and quit his position of pastor of his community and stops for the night in the same motel Seth and Richard are lodged. When Seth sees the recreational vehicle, he abducts Jacob and his family to help his brother and him to cross the Mexico border, promising to release them on the next morning. They head to the truck drivers and bikers bar, the Titty Twister, where Seth will meet with his partner Carlos in the dawn. When they are watching the dancer Santanico Pandemonium, Seth and Richard fight with 3 bodyguards, but soon they discover that the bar is a coven of vampires, and they need to fight until dawn to leave the place alive.
From Dusk Till Dawn. Yes,
What
this
else?
is this movie's a lot of fun.
Why is Harvey Keitel in so many things that have to do with Quentin Tarantino?
Because he helped Tarantino get his start.
Cool.
It was when Harvey Keitel signed on to Reservoir Dogs that really catapulted that movie as far as a budget is concerned, and really helped get the movie made.
Legitimized it.
Yeah, so they've been very good friends ever since then. From Dusk Till Dawn was my understanding is that From Dusk Till Dawn was actually a script that Tarantino had written previous to his release of Reservoir Dogs. It was one of those earlier scripts that he had, and it was when he met Robert Rodriguez, who's the director of From Dusk Till Dawn. Robert Rodriguez and him met here in Toronto at the Toronto International Film Festival, where Tarantino was premiering Reservoir Dogs and Robert Rodriguez was premiering his little independent film, El Mariachi. And they both saw each other's films here in Toronto. They both loved each other's films, and they had a chat about just about their movies and other movies they've seen. And I believe that Tarantino said, hey, you know what? I have this really great Mexican vampire Western that I think you should direct.
Yeah.
So it actually all started right here. That whole connection and this movie
Right there.
began.
I'm not there. I'm over here.
I'm saying here in Toronto.
Right here.
Here in
where
Toronto.
He is. Got it.
Yeah, where I am in Toronto. So it started in Toronto, that little connection. And it's really sad because it only came on the special edition DVD. They never released this on Blu-ray, which is why I've never bought the Blu-ray. But on the special edition DVD, there's a second, I think it was on the second disc. I don't think it was on the same disc, but either way, there's a documentary on the making of this movie called Full Tilt Boogie.
Full Tilt.
I saw this.
Full Tilt
Boogie.
Oh, Boogie. Yeah.
And I saw Full Tilt Boogie at the Toronto Film Festival, and I fucking loved it. And I was so happy that I saw that it had been put onto the DVD, because you see how difficult it was for them to make From Dusk Till Dawn. Like, they went through a whole thing where there was some problem with the union and union bylaws, and the movie was going to get shut down, and they started to have money being pulled from it. They were in serious danger of actually not being able to complete the movie. Man. And they just continue to fight forward. There's some great cameos in it. Of course, you got Tom Savini, who plays Sex Machine.
Oh yeah. No, that's right. I was gonna sort of go over that, because there are some great cameos. I mean, there's just a great cast in general.
Yeah, we've got Tom Savini, who is a very famous and brilliant makeup special effects artist, playing Sex Machine, who's one of the patrons in the bar.
Of course, Juliette Lewis as his
Juliette Lewis is the daughter, Kate.
Always playing younger than
yes. We have Cheech Marin in not one, not two, but three different roles.
Yeah,
in the movie.
You have to remind me. I know he's the
border security officer when they're crossing the border. He's the guy out front the bar with the word
you can
jokes.
Say it. Pussy.
With the pussy jokes, all kinds of pussy.
That's the funniest thing is if you can find a better pussy. No, what is it? It's like the pizza deal. He's like, we'll get, if you buy one pussy, you get the second pussy of equal or lesser value for free.
Yeah, and then it's like, if you can find better pussy anywhere else, fuck it. Yeah. So he plays that role, and then he also plays the guy who's meeting up who's supposed to be meeting up with them the next morning.
Oh yeah. Danny.
Whoa, are they psychos or something?
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, Danny Trejo. Yeah.
Fred Williamson.
Who's also Fred Williamson. Yeah, Fred Williamson is in it as well. Of course, Salma Hayek as our dancer.
John Hawkes.
John Hawkes is the guy who works at the convenience store.
He gets
Pete.
He's not Pete. In it for very long.
No,
but really good effort. Took his scene very seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have what is his name now?
Which character?
The sheriff.
Because I got it here. Michael Parks.
Yes, that's it. The late great Michael Parks.
Good job to us. I've got the information in front of me. You prompted
late great Michael Parks, who
Kelly Preston.
If you like to follow the Tarantino verse with all these connections, because there are quite a few of them. If you look at his movies,
yes,
Michael Parks's character in From Dusk Till Dawn is the same character that he plays in the Kill Bill movies. So there's a little bit of a connection. Wow. It's the same character.
Cool.
Yeah. It's really neat. But yeah, no, that's it. It's a really fun movie. And at times it gets to be, some of the makeup effects are a little too over the top. I do have to say that, but it doesn't take away from how entertaining it is
now
to watch.
Makeup effects being too over the top for a vampire movie.
Yes. Yes.
Do you mean like,
for example, we don't really know. The weird thing with this movie is that all the vampires look completely different.
Right.
None of them are the same, right? This one looks demonic. This one turns into a dog. This one is really squishy. This one is really strong. There's no through line or in terms of the rules. It's kind of like they just went, okay, well, we have all these ideas. Let's just throw them all into this one movie. But like I said, that doesn't take away how much fun it is,
Right.
because that's part of the joy of watching it, is that
But you
the
were
movie
saying
is just
the
is
makeup
fucking
was
loony.
too much or something, or the
Yeah, because of how they like, some of them look like normal vampires, and then other ones they look like their faces are all like rotted and weird. Like, I
Okay,
just,
so maybe you could have had a bit more consistency, or something. You wanted a little
yeah,
bit more of a standard, some sort of standard,
yeah,
or an
and
explanation why they looked like that.
yeah, and I know, and
Bye,
I don't like
Cookie.
to harp. Bye, Cookie.
Thanks.
I don't like to harp on younger actors, but that actor that they have, I think it's Ernest Liu, I think his name is, as the son, he's awful.
Not a good actor. Yeah.
He's just, yeah,
Oh,
and I
well.
don't know. Like, it seemed like he was in there because it was a favor to somebody. Like, I don't know, but he was just really, really
Or
bad.
maybe they thought they wanted a character that seemed really, really young and naive, so they pick an actor that's brand new, right? Like that's been done before and worked out better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they pick someone
Yeah,
who's
and-
fresh because they want them. Like
Sure.
for example, Wiley Wiggins in
And
Dazed and Confused. It just reminded me of that. Like, they picked him because he
Yeah.
was brand new, and you can tell that he's like, it's almost like his inexperience is part of the character almost.
Yeah.
But that worked
And yet-
really well. Well, all right.
And then on the flip side of that, I know that and it's weird because I find that there's some people who think he's great in it, and but there's a straight divide of, oh, he's great in it, and oh, he's awful in it. Is the performance from Tarantino, right? Tarantino is generally he generally plays himself, like,
why is he always
right?
in his movies that he's directing?
Yeah. So I know that he doesn't get a lot of love for his performances because he's not the world's strongest actor. He just isn't. But this movie, apparently, he got a Razzie nomination, I think, for like worst supporting actor.
Oh,
I
dear.
think this is his best. I think this is his best on-screen performance. He is terrifying, as
man,
Richie
yeah,
Gecko.
yeah, as a psycho.
He
Like, you
is
have
creepy.
to. Like, you have.
He is
If this
creepy.
character
He makes you uncomfortable.
if the character
Right,
was
and-
not a psycho killer, then I'd be like, yeah, meh, like, not so great. But yeah, the fact that it's like he's playing, and he knows he's playing someone
Yeah.
who's a
He is creepy.
murdering,
He is
psychotic, and I think it's. I have to say, I enjoy Quentin Tarantino's. I kind of agree with you that he's not the strongest actor, or he doesn't really have any range. Like, he's sort of just like, he's like him, and that's kind of it. But
he's playing himself.
But I've
Yeah.
enjoyed him in almost every role that I've seen him in. But I guess that's not that many things. Like, I really enjoy watching him in Pulp Fiction. Just, I don't know. I just like, it's like, for a minute, you get to have the writer saying the lines that everyone
You
else
see, I
was
think-
saying, you know?
And I think that's why he works, for in my opinion anyway, why he works so well in From Dusk Till Dawn, is that he is the quietest of all the characters. His lines are very minimal. He speaks, he has lines, but he's so quiet. And that kind of adds to that creepy nature
Yeah.
that he has as Richie Gecko. Like, it really, really works. So I really appreciated him in that film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we were aiming for an hour, and we're now at an hour and
At 2.
50 minutes. Or no, we only started 2 minutes late, so we're at 2
We're at
hours,
almost 2 hours.
which is fantastic. And I also half expected that it would. I thought we would probably go an hour and a half, but also I know that we can just go on forever. Like, this is
Yeah.
easy, and this is great. I think we've done a really good job. I think it was tighter than our pilot episode. Do you know what I mean? It was a little bit more
Yep.
organized. I think it was tighter. We got in actually quite a lot of unrelated chat right off the top. We did exactly what you said we shouldn't do, is we talked about other shit for half an hour before we got onto the topic. But
I know.
we can do
That's
that.
okay.
Like, it's okay because it's our thing. We can do whatever we want. We did it, and we managed to segue nicely into the thing. And I don't think it was quite
but
half an hour. And we did have to talk about the hitch slap, so that takes up a little
I
bit
see.
of time.
That's the thing I wanted to say too. That's the thing I want to say is getting back to what you said about we had a little bit of banter and stuff in the beginning. Is that you put that in the announcement on Facebook and YouTube and whatever. Like, we're talking about Oscars, like it was there, so people know.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to let people
People know.
know that we were going to mention it just in case they were interested in it, and also to not be like I just wanted to be forthcoming about it, and just be honest. Like, I would like to talk about this, and maybe I should have mentioned that I'd like to talk about it for a short time, because that was my intention.
Sure.
But you're right. I mentioned it. It was the right thing to do. Now, before we start to wrap things up, or at least before I light this joint here, I would like to get on. I didn't know when I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it now. So, a friend of ours, or I guess a high school mate, I'm going to say. Now, he did go to ESA with us, right? But I believe he was a couple of years older than me. But I actually, so I didn't know him in high school. But I actually spent quite a bit of time with him, probably in my mid to late 20s, because he lived with one of my best friends and another person that I know very well. And I basically stayed there as well. It was at Adam's house, and I stayed there for quite some time and basically lived with them. So I ended up spending a lot of time with Ian McNulty that we went to high school with.
Nice.
And for the past couple of years, I've been reading these amazing movie reviews, elaborate movie reviews that he just posts on Facebook. I don't know if he posts them on any other platform. He should have his own website, really, and he should do it. But I'm not sure. I remember reading them all through the pandemic, and I contacted him the other day asking him if they could be part of this show when we're talking about movies, and he said absolutely. In fact, he will be coming on as a guest probably in a couple of weeks or something. We're going to work it out. He wants to. That was never even my main intention. My main intention was just to be able to steal his movie reviews, but I'm totally for either of these ideas. And he may have been doing these reviews since longer than 2 years ago. I'm not exactly sure. I remember reading them from years, and I just love them. And so when he did confirm for me when I contacted him that he has not done a review on vampire movies, which is the topic this week. But oddly enough, he has one planned for 2 weeks from now. And that's why he'll be coming back, because I think you and I should consider revisiting this topic. Maybe we should make a list of movies that we didn't touch upon, and maybe we should just continue the topic in another episode, and we will have a review. Now Ian mostly reviews, I don't think he reviews new cinema. I could be wrong about that, but I do know that he reviews schlocky B movies and the like a lot.
A man after my
there you
own
go.
heart.
And I don't know if that's exclusive, but it seems to be. So I forget what he said, but there's some probably B movie or schlocky, some sort of vampire movie that he is in the process of writing a review for right now, and it will be ready in a couple of weeks. And we're going to be hopefully having him on to read that review live himself. Or I will be reading it. And we're going to have him on and interview him. So I'm going to set all that up. But for the meantime, I chose the closest thing that I could find to our topic tonight, and it happened to be his latest review. Not a new movie. Okay. So I'm going to be reading as Ian. So if I say I, that's his words. Understand? The review starts with a dictionary definition of the word flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. That's the pronunciation part. Adjective. Informal. Feeling or showing intense shock, surprise, or wonder. Flabbergasted is one of the niftier words in the English language, and yet its origin remains unknown. Some think it's a fusion of flabby and aghast. Others hypothesize that the word originates from the Scottish flabragast, to boast, or flabbergastit, worn out with exertion. I personally suspect the word comes from Germany. That is, it is a tectonic reaction to the creature that frequently causes intense shock, surprise, or wonder when glimpsed leaving its cave at dusk. Ich biete mich auf die Fledermaus, or the bat, as it is known in English. Bats are also nifty. They are the only mammals capable of flight, the only land animals that can use echolocation to hunt, and while their ability to sleep hanging upside down is shared with the possum, bats do it with much more grace. Bats truly are flabbergasting. But there are situations where they can also be really frustrating. Pretend you're a filmmaker in 1999. Visionary movies that challenge the way people look at reality are coming out every single weekend. You watch The Matrix, Run Lola Run, Princess Mononoke, Election, Fight Club, American Movie, Being John Malkovich. Malkovich! That's the only ad-lib I'm going to do, sorry. And yearn to make something similar. Unfortunately, you signed a contract with Columbia TriStar that requires you to make a film about bats behaving like winged piranha. This is the situation that John Logan and Louis Morneau found themselves in when they agreed to make a feature film about killer bats, cleverly titled Bats. The plot. A young couple sitting in a car briefly stop making out so that they can confess to cheating on each other. Seconds later, a swarm of killer bats break through the sunroof and eat them. Cut to plucky young chiropterologists Sheila Casper, played by Dina Mayer, and Jimmy Sands, Leon Robinson, spending a typical day in a subterranean cave wading through bat guano when suddenly they are detained by the military and whisked by helicopter to a small town in Texas called Gallup. In Gallup, they are introduced to the brave Sheriff Emmett Kimsey, played by Brian?
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips, thank you, who respectfully removes his 10-gallon hat as he tells them that his town has a killer bat problem and help is needed from outside professionals. Sheila is no dummy. She knows it's not normal for bats to eat people. She suspects some genetic tampering has been done, especially since the shifty Dr. McCabe, Bob Gunton, is always hanging around, angrily screaming, "Omnivores!" whenever someone calls the bats carnivores. Attempts are made to warn the locals, but these are ignored. The mayor of Gallup, Marcia Dangerfield, ruefully laments, "We warned them 6 ways to Sunday, and they're still outdoors." Moments later, a vicious cloud of killer bats descends from above. The next day, the army are called in, and they pretty much plan to nuke Gallup, but Sheriff Kimsey and Dr. Casper ask them for 48 hours to destroy the bats in a way that won't also destroy the environment. And because they are asked so nicely, the army says, "Okay." Bats is a very amusing movie from a simpler time. A time when the audience had to be told what the CDC is. A time when actors playing doctors and scientists would examine a mauled corpse without wearing gloves or masks, although one does have the sense to throw his tie over his shoulder. I mentioned earlier that Bats was a collaboration between director Louis Morneau and screenwriter John Logan. An oddly matched pair. Morneau is a B-movie veteran known for helming films like Carnosaur 2, The Hitcher 2, and Joyride 2, Dead Ahead. Bats is one of his very few movies that actually made it into theaters. By contrast, John Logan started his screenwriting career with Bats and went on to write Any Given Sunday, Gladiator, The Aviator, Skyfall, and a lot of other movies you probably paid to watch. The odd match worked out, though, making a crazy patchwork movie that has characters solemnly preparing to do battle with bats, while Don Zanetti's Lucia de la Memore plays in the background and Glorious scenes where the evil Dr. McCabe is asked why he turned the bats into killers and responds, "Because I'm a scientist. It's what we do." Bats isn't streamable anywhere. If you want to see it, you'll have to track down a DVD copy, which is worth doing so if you want to spend some time being flabbergasted or if you happen to be a flibbertigibbet.
Brilliant.
Yes. Thank you, Ian McNulty, for your wonderful review on the movie Bats, starring Lou Diamond Phillips, among others. Did I do a good job reading it?
Yeah.
I think I practiced the German phrase so many times, and I don't think I pronounced it properly. Let me try again. Ich biete mich. Ich biete mich auf die Fledermaus. It translates to, I am talking about the flying mouse. Right? I am referring to the bat, or the bat, as it is known in English. So I actually said to my aunt I wasn't going to translate that part at the end. I think the only reason I did is because I did not pronounce it properly on the first run, and I'm disappointed with myself. So I had to go back and say it again. And what a review, eh?
That's great.
Like,
it's really good.
mean, they got a German phrase in there, and do you have anything to say about this movie?
I've seen it once.
Yeah.
I saw it when it came out on, I guess it was VHS at the time. I remember thinking it was horrible.
I always put it in the same category with Eight-Legged Freaks.
Eight-Legged Freaks was, yes. That's but see, that's the thing is I haven't seen Bats in so long that I don't know if it was like if it embraces its own campiness.
Oh,
or
I'm
not.
sure it does.
Whereas Eight-Legged Freaks totally embraces its own campiness.
Well, and perhaps
like right down to the fact that there's a bit where one of the things I remember at Eight-Legged Freaks, is, if I recall correctly, is that it's towards the end when they're all rushing to the movie theater or the mall or whatever it is they're going to take refuge, and there's a spider that's on top of one of the cars doing this with one of its arms, going, "Come on, get him!" That's great. That's what I mean by embracing its own campiness. Yeah.
I don't.
But
think
I'd have to watch Bats
takes
again.
itself too seriously. I don't think you should be concerned about that. But
all I remember about the movie was that there were bats and that Lou Diamond Phillips was in it.
Yeah.
The only two things I remember about it.
I can remember a bit more than that. So okay, so that was totally awesome. We read Ian's review. Bats are somewhat related to vampires. We talked about werewolves. We really covered it all tonight, man. And
now I don't want to. I know that we're wrapping up, so I don't want to get it. So I say I don't necessarily want to get into it now.
I'm here all night.
It'll be another. Well, see, I have to get up early in the morning, so I actually have to start getting ready to go.
You know that I do too. I have
I
have small children that both need to be cared for in the morning. Not that
tomorrow
it's a competition, but.
Well, tomorrow is, as you know, is my annual special day that I do every year with my dad.
Very good. Yeah. Are you going to see a film?
I am going to see a movie.
Can you tell me what it is?
I was debating for a while. It was, oddly enough, vampires. I was going to go see Morbius, but it's getting horrific reviews, like really bad. I'm like, okay, maybe not.
You don't want to take Dad to see that.
No, then I was going to go see The Lost City because I thought, fun adventure yarn. My dad and I watched stuff like that. Yep. And then last night, I stumbled across this new movie that just came out. Like I've been seeing the ad or the posters for it, but I didn't actually watch anything. And I was like, oh yeah, there's this. And I'm like, what is this exactly? And it's a movie called, I want to get the title right. Everyone, Everywhere, All at Once, I think is the name of it. And it looks like this totally fun, almost Terry Gilliam level excess of craziness involving it's Michelle Yeoh, Ki-Hai Kwan. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Okay. That's the actor who played Data in The Goonies and Short Round in Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. So he's now an adult man. So it's the two of them. Jamie Lee Curtis,
he's no longer short or round.
Right. James Hong is in it. But it looks like this totally insane, like martial arts, multiverse, action, adventure, feel good comedy. Like it looks like a mesh of things. Perfect. But but the reviews have been outstanding
excellent.
for this movie.
Reviews are important most of the time. And
so I thought, you know what? That's something that could be a lot of fun because
put-
it's just going to be so wildly different.
I know it's a special day for you, and I think rightly so, or you know, because of that, you've put more thought into what movie you should go see than maybe the average person would on the average day. So I'm glad that you didn't, you know, just go with your first choice, and that you went through a whole huge process and I hope that you're not disappointed with that film, but I think that you have a pretty good, instincts. So I think that it'll be unlikely that you're disappointed, and you got to tell me all about how that went.
Yeah. So I know that we're wrapping up, so we'll reserve this one for another time.
Which one?
Because I have to point out,
you can say what it is.
I have to point out a certain elephant in the room of a movie we haven't talked about, which we'll save for another time. And the elephant in the room is the fact that I'm wearing a freaking Lost Boys t-shirt, and we didn't talk about the Lost Boys tonight. So we're going to save that for another time. That's a big discussion.
If I play that song on the turntables right now, we'll get shut down. We'll get sued.
Yeah. So let's say that we'll talk about that one another time.
So then next week, no, not next week, because I was thinking about this is useful information for anyone watching this after the fact, that Talking About will be a bi-weekly show. Right now, I'm struggling to try and figure out how I'm going to come up with ideas and fill the guest spot, you know, at all. So I think doing it every week might be a little bit taxing. I am live every Saturday night at 9:00 on Twitch, playing music, DJing. And I had thought about even maybe doing the Talking About as part of that night on Saturday nights. So how's Thursday for you, Brian? I know you're going to be involved in several episodes of the show right off the bat. So
right now it's fine.
Yeah.
And I only say that because my schedule as of late has been all over the place, especially when it comes down to me having to do auditions. So what it would really come down to is, do I have a bunch of auditions that I need to do, or am I on a show?
But right now it's okay. But yeah, no, I mean,
right now
you can change days if you need to at the last minute. I'm okay with that. But yeah, Thursday seems like a good day. So I think that the decision I'm making for now is Talking About is going to be Thursdays bi-weekly.
Okay.
Or bi-monthly. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
No. Because it's not every 2 months.
It's every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. And so,
daily.
So next episode of, so we'll probably do episode 2 will be more vampires. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe featuring Ian McNulty, a review from him. And we'll be talking about Lost Boys. We'll be talking about Interview with the Vampire.
It's another one.
We'll be talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Another one we missed.
And we will be talking about we will be talking about Fright Night, which I rewatched the second one. And we'll be talking about The Hunger, maybe.
Yeah, if I can find a copy of that, I'd like to watch that one.
And I got to rewatch some of these ones that we did already talk about.
See, I watched Once Bitten last night.
Nice.
And then today I watched Shadow the Vampires and Innocent Blood.
Good for you. We didn't talk about Innocent Blood.
I touched upon it because of the American Werewolf in London.
Right.
It's not very good.
Okay.
It's a
cool.
It's a bit of a letdown, but
I enjoyed Fright Night last night, part 2. Which I've seen less times than the first one. I don't even know if I'd ever actually seen it until recently. I just had it in my collection because I had it because it was the sequel to the first one. And maybe I can elaborate maybe on my feelings on the first one maybe next time. But I have to say that what I did appreciate about the second one was the gore was So first of all, it was very elaborate. Like the movie was fairly elaborate. Like it was way more like it was kind of cheesy, but then like when I watched the rest of it, like a lot of stuff happens. Like a lot of stuff goes on with the storyline and his involvement with the main character's involvement with the vampires. And it's basically just the vampires trying to get revenge on him for him defeating them in the first movie. But the gore is pretty good. The special effects, and a lot of them, I would say, I mean, they're probably all practical effects, right? Like for the most part.
Yeah,
And they were all pretty good and gross. And there was a lot of them. And most of them, as with a lot of these other movies, most of these gross out effects are vampires dying, being defeated in various gross different ways. Who's the see, I'm talking about Fright Night 2 now. It's happening. I don't care. My iPad is acting really weird. Oh man. Fright Night has I was just trying to look up the cast for 1 second here. Chris Sarandon is not in the second one. Just a note about Chris Sarandon in the first one. I can't watch Chris Sarandon without thinking of Prince Humperdinck from The Princess Bride. I just can't do it.
What about Child's Play? He's the cop in Child's Play as well.
Shit, I'm looking. Oh, in the first. Oh, that's right. Yeah, and the first Fright Night also has Amanda Bierce.
Yeah, Married with Children.
Yeah. But what was I saying about the second one? It's that guy from the X-Files. Sorry. Okay, here it is. So I don't have it. I didn't have it up here. The guy who plays like, oh God, I know there's a lot of actors in the X-Files. So let me just, his name is Brian Thompson. And in the X-Files, he's like, so you look it up, Fright Night 2, Brian Thompson. In the X-Files, he's like the clone. He's like one of the evil clones, later in season 4 or 5 or like something like that with the thing in the neck and the. Anyway, he's a vampire in Fright Night 2, and when he dies, it's fairly simple. He just his lower abdomen, I guess, just breaks open and just explodes with mealworms, just like.
Yummy.
And it was just like there was already a bunch of other gross outs before that, and it was pretty gross. Like I was just like, that's disgusting, and it kind of looks real, and like it's an effect, right? And it's a very simple one at that. Like it wasn't like it's kind of like it's elaborate, but it's not elaborate if you compare it to like something that's where like where the effect is just almost unimaginable. Like, how did they do that? With that, I can sort of imagine, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good work, but I can imagine, how that might be accomplished. But it looks real, and it was gross, and that was my compliment of that movie. Lots of gross, good special effects.
I had to do an audition one time, and the script required with the whole. They talked about the scene where you're supposed to be opening like a cupboard or a closet door or something. And all of these maggots were supposed to be coming out in piles on the floor. And the script said, real or post effects / CGI, decide later. And I was like, if I get that role, they better not fucking be real. I'll vomit everywhere. I don't want to see that shit.
Might be real.
Jesus. I don't know. Do not put that in front of me.
Oh my
I
God,
will literally vomit.
Oh man.
Just like 3 maggots is gross. Never mind like a pile of them falling out of a closet on the tidal wave.
No real maggots. Talk to my agent.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. We had all the covers there and everything. So yeah, we can improve on this. And but this was amazing. Good job, man. And I'm gonna say good night now.
Yes.
And I'm gonna put on a track, but listen to, if you want to listen to. Oh, so this is from Dusty Fingers 15, which is like it was a vinyl series of 2 rare groove tracks that ended up being like all these tracks were either already or ended up being widely sampled in like hip hop music and stuff like that. But Dusty Fingers, this was from Dusty Fingers 15, I think, volume 15.
Yep.
And it's a track. I don't know the artist. It doesn't say. And it's called Vampires. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Talkin' About. I am Angus James. This was my guest, Brian Russell. And we were talking about vampire movies. And we'll see you next time live in the Vinyl Garage. Bryce, just stay connected to the Zoom call and you can hear this music. And I say good night. And
All right, good night, sir.
good night.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave you off of this screen here. Bye-bye.
All right. Ciao.
Bye. Thank you very much. Track's called Vampires.